things can happen.
Here is a short version of what you need to do.
Oh, fuck! No! Hey, what the?
Ah!
Oh my god. Ah! And then I go around the corner and...
Let me call to my racing expert.
You're shit pilot. Yes, you're shit.
No, this is the wrong one.
Some of these fast pilots, they fly 6S, they fly 5S. I got 1S. Freestyle sucks. DJI is for winners.
What's up, guys? I think we're live, at least I hope so. And we got 4 people today. I think it's gonna be a very exciting thing. It's I kind of figure out it will be a little bit of like a interrogation format. So, well, our first guest, is Mr. Johnny5, and he will be a good cop. Mr. Johnny5, famous YouTube star with 11,000 subscribers, almost 12. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Then we have a very good cop, Mr. Nice, our regular expert. Yeah. And as always, we promote his OnlyFans page. We don't know how many subscribers he has there, but yeah, there we go. And we have, and a special guest. I'll be a bad cop, by the way. So our special guest we'll be interrogating today, as you might know, is Mr. Know-It-All, Joshua Bardwell. Make some noises for him. Woo!
Hey!
And I figure out that Neil will introduce Bardwell. I feel like you have something to say. How would you introduce Bardwell?
Well, Joshua Bardwell, Mr. JB, somebody we've all learned something from today and many other days. I think it's great to have him here. You know, we've been building a list of having like bigger and bigger people on the show, and it's awesome to have Mr. Bardwell just continue that trend going. So,
oh man,
have you here today for sure.
And we got people saying in the chat that they already learned something today.
Oh.
Yeah.
oh,
And let's see. So someone says there's like a noise, like a terrible noise on live stream. Let's
The
see,
chat-
guys. Yeah, can you please, guys, in the chat confirm that
but
there's
the
noise?
stream is back. The stream is back.
Love it.
Awesome.
Good.
It's good now.
It's good now.
We got a good
Rose
now.
here. Chris Thomas.
Disconnected briefly.
Yeah.
Chris
Beautiful.
Thomas.
Yeah, Chris Thomas in the chat. All right, so because it's kind of interrogation format, and you know, some people like to say that Mr. Joshua Bardwell is like, you know it all, and society wants to check if you like really know it all. So, considering the principles of quantum entanglement and superposition, how do you think the Heisenberg uncertainty principle might influence the stochastic resonance in nonlinear systems?
You know, the know-it-all, I mean, that's mostly pertains to FPV, but the Heisenberg uncertainty principle could introduce an inherent noise floor to any system. When applied to stochastic resonance in nonlinear systems, the noise floor might act as a modulating factor, potentially enhancing or dampening the resonance depending on the system's parameters. I mean, that's my take. That's my take.
All right, guys. We are done here for today. That's it. That's it. So, all right. Damn, I thought Bardwell didn't know anything, but apparently he knows it all. Oh, and my microphone is still live. What a heck! All right, so we got a list of some really spicy questions. Most of these questions came from us, but apparently you also have some haters, and we got a lot of spicy questions from. Yeah,
I'm excited when you told me you had spicy questions, and you asked if I wanted to prepare myself, and I said no, I don't want to see the questions before the live stream. But every time I go on live streams, people are very nice to me. They're very complimentary. That's cool. I don't mind that. I'm looking forward to the spice, though.
Yeah. So,
As people know, I like spicy stuff.
yeah. Do you? Like, I feel like you're always trying to avoid drama. Like, no?
No, like food, spicy food. I like.
Oh, the spicy food.
Okay.
All right, so the first question is kind of a little bit about your past, and Mr. Johnny 5 did his homework. Let me share my screen. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but this is Mr. Bardwell is a rocker. You see, like...
Come along.
Wow, on the playa there, huh?
Yeah, he's kind of jacked up.
Those are both,
yeah, and also look at that. Look at what is that.
Yes.
So it looks like you're like dangerous and like a rocker guy.
Yep. So I went to Burning Man. I think that picture might be 2006-ish to 2009. I'm not sure the exact year.
Those pants.
Yeah, I wore those pants for not very long. They were not very comfortable to wear. That was like the going out on the town outfit, and then they were not comfortable, and I did not fit into them for very long.
So how did you end up like from this to being an FPV YouTuber? Like, tell just a little bit, you know.
I mean, it's all how did I get fat? I mean, I was in my, I guess I was probably in my early 30s in those pictures. 2006, 2005, 75, 85, 95, 05. I would have been in my early 30s. And then now I'm in my late 40s. So, that's not really a mystery. I was always into like picking up various skills and hobbies. So at one point I got into drones and making videos. And here I am.
So you were always in FPV? That's what you say? Like interested in FPV?
No, I wasn't. I got into FPV around 2014 or 2015. Like I had gotten into flying RC planes and I got into flight test. I started watching flight test, and then flight test started getting into FPV. And that's how I got into FPV, because FPV is amazing.
Do you think you can still do that with people? Like
100%.
I mean,
the difference is not like just put an arm bar on somebody, sure. Like a wrist lock, sure. It's like riding a bike. You don't forget that. I don't have the stamina that I did. Once upon a time, I got into a wrestling match with Chad Capper, a friendly wrestling match.
There's video of that somewhere for sure.
There was a drone flying around. The video was recorded. I don't know if it still exists anywhere, but he was in the Marines, so he's no slouch when it comes to. Now, to be fair, I don't think he was infantry, so he wasn't like. But anyway, and about 30 or 45 seconds into that wrestling match, I realized I needed to end it quickly, or I was like going to completely run out of gas. So I don't have the stamina that I did and the conditioning, but the technique is,
All right. Look at that.
Maybe not the throws and the falls, but an armbar, sure. Armbar.
Look at this. So do you think you would still be able to put down Elon Musk?
See, Elon Musk has no training.
Okay,
but he's a big guy. He's a big guy.
Yeah. Is he not training to fight Zuckerberg right now, though? I thought that's
no, he's not putting in the time. He's too busy shit posting from his toilet. He's not training for it. He's not doing that. He's not going to do that. Does he look like a guy who has any conditioning? I mean, I'm not. There's nothing wrong with that. I also am a guy who has no conditioning.
Yeah,
but you got to be realistic. You got to be realistic. Zuckerberg's got conditioning. Zuckerberg's like the real deal.
All right, so we gotta keep our interrogation a little bit spicy, So I got a little a next video Let me share it.
Okay.
So this is Mr. Joshua Bardwell doing like crowd surfing. I think that's what they call. And you can see he is doing it like face forward. So
Okay. I want to explain that.
As a bad
I
cop,
want to explain that. No, I want to
let me
explain
ask
that.
the question first.
Okay.
Did you, like, as a bad cop, I have to ask you, did you want people to touch you in certain places? That's why you did it face forward?
No, not specifically. Although, no, first of all, everyone was very polite. No one touched my junk. Thank you for that. I had never crowd surfed before.
Okay.
Shocker, right? And they all clustered up against the stage as we started doing the giveaway. And I looked out at the crowd and I said, this is it. This is my opportunity to crowd surf.
Right.
And I thought it would be a real hoot for the people as well, that they would enjoy it. And I'm like, let's, because you're always trying to make Rampage fun and give everybody a good time. And so I was like, come on, let's crowd surf. Everybody get in here. And I'm facing them. And so I just kind of leaned into it. But also, I wasn't sure if they were going to drop me. And if they dropped me, I kind of wanted to go face first. So
safety.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't buy this story. I maybe 25. Maybe 25 really? Did. All right, 25. Do you want to read our next question? I think it's question number 3 or whatever question you feel good about reading.
Let's start with there. So, did you ever have a particularly challenging moment in FPV? I know a lot of people have, whether they lose a quad, it blows up in their face, or burns part of their garage down. Everyone feels like quitting. A lot of people do quit, but what was that moment that really brought you to the edge? And how did you come back from it and overcome it?
Well, for me, the challenging moment. So, like, because this is my job, I'm less concerned about like losing a quad than most people because I have a lot of quads and I always have new ones coming in to review. And I don't want to be too glib about it. Like, I do care, like, especially if it's a quad that I built and I built it just right, then I really don't want to crash it and mess it up. Like, some I like more than others. But like, for me, it's not like, oh, I put that quad in a tree or I put that quad in the lake. Because at the end of the day, as long as I'm making content and getting content out of it, almost anything is fair game. But for me, what really makes me struggle and get frustrated and like not really want to quit, but have that feeling is if I'm trying to make a video and like stuff's just fucking up again and again and again, and I'm not getting the content that I need, and like, you go outside and you forgot your SD card and then you go to take off and your props aren't on, and then like the quad is broken so you can't review it, and just repeatedly, or like if you lose footage, if I do a recording and I'm recording for 2 hours and then it turns out like the mic wasn't on or something, like that stuff is really frustrating. Yeah.
So like you never wanted to like or thought about quitting FPV, like you're done, like
even like early on before you had the channel.
No, early on, I was so like just hungry and loved it. Early on, I didn't think about quitting at all. It was just every bit of it was fun and exciting and challenging. And it's after you get a little more bored with it as time goes on, and then you're not thinking about quitting from frustration. You're just thinking about. I never think about quitting. I'm always thinking, man, why don't I fly more? Oh, I wish I flew more. So like I'm kind of doing like, they talk about quiet quitting, where you don't quit your job, you just slowly stop doing it. Like
yeah, that's the thing.
You're so busy making videos, answering emails, planning, stuff for the channel, and it's the creator's dilemma, right? Once you make it your job, then the idea that you can just go out and do it for fun is you have to balance that, and it's a struggle.
So do you still do it just for fun, like sometimes like without?
Yeah, some, but mostly I do it it's hard to fly just for fun and not be like, well, I could record some content. I actually didn't post a video from Rampage. I got back from Rampage. I had a bunch of footage. I did a lot of flying at Rampage with the idea that I was going to make a vlog. I came back from Rampage and I was just like, I just don't feel like editing this. I'm just going to, and I'm sure that the Rotor Riot guys really would have rather I made a video about it. But I just came back and I was like, I'm just gonna let this one be for me. You know?
That's good.
I think that's real special. And I mean, I'm not a content producer, but I used to post videos a little bit, and I've really found that, Yvonne and I did this long range trip not too long ago, and for 2 days we didn't even hit record because like we were just out there for
Losing
us,
quads out there, losing quads.
yeah. Well, that happened too. Like maybe it would have been better to hit record, but I think the whole point of it was like we weren't out there to make content. We were out there just to enjoy flying, and that was that was very cool. And and again, it's not my job. I'm still a little bit like 1 foot on both sides of it, if you were. But it's I do find it really nice to get out there and just fly, just to fly. And but I get too, if it's your job, like it's hard not to turn the camera on,
Yeah, and making content does get in the way of the enjoyment because there's always that part of you that's thinking about how you're going to turn it into a video and what the video is going to be like and so forth.
Yeah, I kind of hate that part. Like, I don't know. I try to separate. All right, today I'm recording video and today I'm just flying, like racing for fun. Because I already thought about quitting from my channel so many times. It's crazy. I'm like,
well, you're not a YouTube creator if you haven't thought about quitting. I've had times when I've thought, I haven't really thought about quitting my channel, but I have had times where I've thought about like maybe pulling back from it a little bit, and letting it take up less of my attention. But I always get over it.
So a little bit less spicy question, but still. So, is it like? Do you think there is like any popular opinion in FPV community that you just like strongly disagree, but like most of people think that way, and you think it's like, no, this is bullshit?
A popular opinion? Wow. I mean, I'm sure there must be some. Like I don't have them like ready to go on the top of my head.
Like I would say all right, yeah, go ahead if you have something.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe it will help you because like I would say like my opinion I strongly disagree is that, well, like the parallel charging is safe. I don't think it's safe. Parallel charging is not safe. Like that's my strong belief. And also like the other thing is that I strongly disagree is that people should think a lot about their rates. I think people can just fly defaults and it doesn't freaking matter.
Okay.
It's just just something like this maybe.
So I strongly disagree about the rates.
All right.
So and I say this as somebody who's taught a lot of beginners to fly. You definitely like need lower rates for teaching people to fly, just because they don't have the fine muscle control on the sticks, and so when they make a correction, they tend to make a big stab on the stick and overcorrect, and turning the rates way down makes it easier for them to learn.
This is like for complete beginners, but as long as you can already fly around the tree and do like a split test, then I think that's the moment you should just stop thinking about it.
I still disagree, because like if you give me like I've flown with Stinger Swarm comes to mind, Kevin Dougherty, and he the way his rate curve is, he has like a sharp expo point. And if I fly his quad or I fly on the simulator and he's got his rates on it, I find it really hard. Like I can freestyle okay, but if I try to race, I keep getting surprised by that expo curve, and it's really hard for me to adjust to it.
Well, Neil, I can just read Neil's mind. He thinks that if you spend with his rates like a week of flying, you'll be good. It doesn't freaking matter.
No, not my rates. I just think any rates, right? Like if you were to pick up Kevin's quad with the weird expo curve, that's weird for sure. And I just think where Yvonne is saying is likely, and what I'll just sort of back up maybe, is that just whatever your rates may be, it's more important for you to spend time on those rates and fly than it is to be like, oh, I need to tweak this, or if I added a couple if my curve went a little that way, then I'd be better.
I think there's more granularity in the rate curve than most people need, but like your muscle memory is important.
Yeah.
And if your max rate is like, why do all racers run 400, 500, maybe 600 degrees per second? You don't see racers running 1100 degrees per second. right? So rates
Right.
obviously like matter,
Sure.
but you don't need all the granularity that you get. I
Yeah.
have 2 sets of rates. I run 533 rates with 0.4 expo on racing and cinematic rigs, and I run my personal rate curve, which is about 900 degrees per second, on all my freestyle rigs, and that's it. And the main reason I do that is because it's what I have muscle memory for. But like if I was trying to do a certain style, like I've had people tell me that my spang flying would look more spangy if I had linear rates instead of expo. Like, oh, I haven't tried that, but maybe.
Mm.
So there's something to it.
But it's
You can't
still, I think it's still at the end is just whatever you get used to. Like, of course, if you get to one race and then you start flying another race, you need some time, but you just shouldn't be thinking a lot about that. You just should grind more on whatever race just you found first,
You find rates that roughly work for you and then stick to them. Don't spend a lot of time. Like it's the same thing with PID tuning. Most people aren't pushing the quad hard enough that the PIDs are what's sort of holding them back. And so you'll see people who can barely fly. They're like maybe they're just barely learning split S's, and they're like, oh, I need to PID tune this quad, and I'm just like, no, you don't. Just fly the defaults. Shut up. Like obviously PID tune them if you want to PID tune them. It's your time. Do what you love, but that's not what's holding you back.
Yeah. All right, so Hyper, and I gotta ask that. So Hyper, you know Hyper, right? A fast racer. So Hyper in the chat asks if you think the camera position matters on the drone, not the angle, but the position.
The rear of the there was a frame a long time ago that mounted the camera at the rear of the drone.
And you think it matters?
So it stands to reason. So clearly the height of the camera above the rotational axis matters. A camera that's mounted right on the roll axis is going to have more circular axial rotations. A camera that's mounted high above the roll axis is going to have swing.
So but that's like if you mount it way high. If you mount it 1 feet high, then you can. But if it's
but the same thing happens if it's 1 inch high. The effect is there. It's just reduced. If it's so it's minor. As far as the front
see Hyper, you see Bardwell said it's minor. See, very minor. Because Hyper strongly agrees.
Think about those old quads, the style of quad, which was almost like a toothpick, and you had the camera stack going up, and the camera was mounted on top.
Yep,
those felt very different in the way that the camera swings around. When you would do a roll, the camera would not be axial; it would swing around hard.
Yeah, but that
changes.
But that's a toothpick. That's a toothpick, and on the toothpick,
they were 5 inches.
All right.
They were 5 inches.
Like my argument is always imagine there are 2 cameras on the drone, and you think these 2 camera mounted in different positions, right? The only information you receive from your drone, I didn't want to go live stream this way, but so the only information you're getting from your drone is the information from your camera. You're not getting feeling of acceleration or anything like this, right? And imagine you're recording 2 DVRs from 2 cameras mounted on the drone, and
clearly the
you're not gonna see the difference.
The same.
You're not
motion of the drone is the same. When it does a rotation, the rotational rate is the same.
You think you'll be able to tell the difference?
I can tell the difference.
Right.
I like it to be lower.
All right. I don't agree with you, but we gotta move on.
Look. So Lucky in the chat says he is Limon. Limon hates being wrong, and Hyper saying face the fact, Limon, it matters.
No, it doesn't.
So here's what I can say. Definitively, we can say that a camera mounted on the roll axis and a camera mounted some distance above or below the roll axis are going to present a different image to the pilot when you roll. That's a fact. So based on that, could conclude that at least in some cases, it does matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's all we got.
Sorry.
Asterisk.
Yeah. So
I think that the man that knows it all has spoken.
But does it make you a better pilot? Or does it really can you just adjust? Because let's be honest, most of the time we're talking about a centimeter or 2 centimeters. We're not talking about a lot.
Well, I think part of where it came up,
practically speaking, it doesn't matter.
Well, did you see the Kronos frame that Hyper designed working with Minshan where they mounted the stack like sort of catty corner, right? And I believe the reason they did that, and Hyper, correct me if I'm misspeaking, but I believe they did that because Min-Chan wanted the camera position in a certain, like a few millimeters, one like further back or something like that.
I don't think front to back matters very much.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you've got a camera and it's at a certain angle and it's on the roll axis, if you move it forward or back, it's going to have the same sort of rotation, isn't it?
No, but it's the same effect, but on the pitch axis, though, right? Like if you make the argument for the roll axis, it's like off center of the center of pitch.
You're never on center on the pitch axis, though.
True.
This is like I'm always saying that
never on center on the pitch axis.
I always like to compare the camera position versus camera angle, and so I did a little bit of math. I don't remember the exact values, but
he does it.
But if you change your camera angle 2 degrees, and 2 degrees is like very small, right? Sometimes you buy 3D printed mount for 60 degrees, and then it's actually 63, and you never will be able to tell the difference. And so camera position changes your picture less than 2 degrees, basically. If your obstacle is like 2 or 3 feet away from you already, then it's just 2 degrees is just way more difference than the camera position of like, I think I counted like 20 millimeters or something, which was kind of ridiculously a lot. So that was my point.
I'm not convinced that pushing the camera forward or back is going to make a difference for most people, because you're already
that's it. We're gonna stop here.
All right.
Up and down, yes. All right.
Question number 5.
All right, let's see.
You're gonna let
hang on. Back up.
Yeah,
this is easy though, because Yvonne, you're the guy who did the blind test where you could tell the difference between 50 and 250 hertz.
Yeah.
Do a blind test.
That'd be so hard because you see the props in view in different ways. So we really need simulator for that.
You need a dead cat with no props in view.
Or simulator, yeah.
You need a 3D printed mount that pushes the camera forward and back a few centimeters.
Oh, yeah.
No one will be able to tell.
I think nobody will be able to tell, that's for sure. The same as nobody would be able to tell consistently 2 degrees camera difference. Like,
well, Min-Chan can tell. Min-Chan can tell.
Min-Chan isn't human. Min-Chan, if Min-Chan says he can tell, I don't disbelieve him.
So yeah, Hyper said in the comments that Min-Chan had him redesign the camera position 4 times for the Chronos before it felt right.
Yeah, because I think Hyper is also crazy. Like Hyper, that's you're crazy.
Min-Chan's crazy.
And they both crazy. Like 2 guys designing a frame, that's kind of crazy. So
I agree 1000% with Brian Lewis. We need way more double blind tests in FPV. Here, I have a rant. Hold on, before we go to the next question.
Yeah.
I have a rant that sort of vaguely relates to your question, which is, what do people believe that is bullshit, right?
Yep.
And it pertains to motor testing. I think that most people can't really tell the difference between, let's say you've got similarly sized motors, roughly, and roughly the same kV, within 100 or maybe 200 kV. I think that most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference in a blind test. And I say
agree.
that maybe a racer who is putting in laps on a track, maybe, but I think that would pertain more to kV. I think the differences are so subtle. You see things like differences in responsiveness. On a bench test, you'll see differences in efficiency and thrust. And me and Aaron Ciati did a test with 3 motors. 2 of them were FPV cycle prototypes that Bob Ruge sent me, and one of them was a Zing 2207. I had 3 identical quads, and I put the motors on each of them. And I said to Ciati, how are we going to test this and be fair? And I had just read that what they'll do in real science is they'll do a split test, and they'll try and decide if you can even tell the difference. Like if they've got a new formula of Coke and an old formula of Coke, they'll give it to people, and there's a way they structure the test to see if they can tell the difference. And if you can't tell the difference between 2 motors at all, then any opinion you have about the motor, like, oh, it's smooth, it's juicy, it's responsive, any opinion you have, you shut the heck up. So we did a test where he flew the quad blind. He didn't know which one it was. And I took it, and he was under the goggles. I unplugged it, and then either I would switch to a different quad, or I would plug the same quad in again.
I like that.
I would ask him, is it the same quad as you just flew, or is it a different one? And we did the tests, and when we were done, both of us were no better than like 50%. We couldn't tell.
I like that. Well,
so
yeah, I'm supposed to be
And
a
I-
bad cop, but I agree with you here, like 100% agree here with you.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. You haven't seen me. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why I don't go out of my way to review motors, but one of the reasons is I was like, well, I can't freaking tell the difference between 3 motors. What business do I have reviewing them? And I think everybody else out there who reviews motors needs to post that a double blind test
Yeah.
or a single blind test where they demonstrate that they can tell the dang difference before anybody should listen to anything they have to say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I'm
I
done
think
ranting.
like with motors, you can kind of review, although it will be hard, like to review like durability of the motor. At least that's what matters for me. We fly it like at night spot with concrete.
Yep.
If motor is not durable, you're just gonna waste more money, and then you can do this blind test, but it can cost a lot of money. So, but I agree.
It's pretty hard to like actually test motor durability though scientifically,
Yeah.
because you're like,
Right.
well, I flew at the night spot for 1 night and I killed 1 motor, or I flew for 3 nights and I didn't kill a motor, so this one's better. But you could have killed 3 and 3 batteries just.
Yeah, gotta be very careful with that too.
And there's differences in motors, like the construction and so forth, the price, right? All those things are things you can look at and make opinions about. But as far as how they fly, I think that very, very few people, if any, can actually tell the difference between similarly spec'd motors, except on the bench. Atreides in the chat says, I can tell a major difference between Emax Eco 2 2306, 1900 kV, and ZT Innovate 2306, 1960 kV V2. Prove it. Everybody says that. I don't. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but prove it. Build 2 identical quads, exactly the same build, exactly the same weight. Put 1 set of motors on one set of motors on the other, and blind yourself. Now we also played music into his ears so he couldn't hear the motors, because we thought maybe being able to hear the kV difference would throw you off.
Yeah,
that's
that
smart.
makes
Totally
it harder.
smart.
Yeah,
yeah, that's interesting, because you're like, oh yeah, well this one just was higher pitched, so it's definitely got more power. Or
I also say so. Whoever was said that in the chat that he can feel the difference. Like if you know what you're flying right now, it can be so misleading. Your brain can trick you so hard. I remember I was testing Betaflight D-Shot 600 versus Betaflight D-Shot 1200, and when I was switching by myself, I could swear I feel the difference. And then when I did a blind test in Betaflight, it was just I couldn't tell the difference. But I swear I could tell the difference. Like that's like
we were like I have all the footage. I didn't release the video.
You should.
If I release the video, everyone would watch the video and go, "Well, Bardwell and Ciati are clearly stupid." The message of the video is placebo effect is real, and it is very hard to tell the difference between similarly spec motors simply by flying them. But no one would get that message, and they would just say we were stupid and I didn't release it. But we were sitting there, we were like, oh, I don't know. Once you start, it's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Well, and I know maybe 2 years ago.
Go ahead, John.
Oh yeah, I was saying maybe 2 years ago, I stopped selecting a motor based on necessarily how it felt or how powerful or fast it was, and I started picking a motor based on how available it was, how durable over like long periods of time it was, and whether I could get spare bells or not. Because a spare bell for $10, even on a premium motor, like the one I mostly fly is the 533 heads-up motor, and then that's also plentiful. So if I'm at a race and I run out, there's most likely 15 other guys that have the same one that I can bum one off of in an emergency. So,
Neil, did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, I was just going back to the testing to say that like it's really hard to tell something apart when you're flying. But like Mason mentioned it. I think in JB you mentioned before too, there could be some that you could tell if you're on a track and you're turning the same laps and you're at the top end of the motor, and somebody that really has the ability to get all of the motor maybe could feel that. But I think it's really hard to feel that, and especially if you're just say doing punch outs or not some particular structured flying, that it'd be very hard to for sure tell the difference.
I agree. Hyper in the chat says he's sure he could tell the difference between a 60 kV difference between 2 motors. I 100% believe that a top racer, I've seen Alex Vanover put in times on a track, and it's like 12.12 seconds, 12.15 seconds, 12.13 seconds, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this guy's so, and that's not just Vanover. All the top
Right.
racers have that
At
level of
that tier,
consistency.
yeah.
Once you can reach that level of consistency around a track, I would believe you that you could tell a 60 kV difference in motors. But lots of people review motors, and they'll just go out, they'll put it on a quad, they'll whip it around a little bit, and they'll go, I really like this motor, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't know why we should believe anything you say.
All right. Well, I like this. I like your answer for the question. So this
Yeah.
is the Bardwell's opinion that is different from popular opinion. So this
I
is
would
it.
love people to do this.
Yeah.
I would love for people to say, hey, I'm here to review this motor. Before I give you my opinions on the motor, I want to show you the results of my blind test. I flew these motors around the track, and I could identify the motor in a blind test, 8 times out of 10 or 27 times out of 30. And then I'm like, okay, I will now listen to what you have to say, because
Is it also the difference why you stopped testing batteries? Because you were talking about that at live stream. Like, why did you stop testing batteries?
So I got the battery test machine, and I started doing some testing, and I got myself sort of wrapped around the crank a little bit, thinking about how to do the testing right. So part of the problem was I would buy the battery and test the battery, but it was a sample size of 1. And I wasn't convinced that was like I was actually providing meaningful data with a sample size of 1, but I didn't have the money to buy a sample size of, say, 10 or something. I saw your battery testing recently, by the way. Very, very cool. Very cool testing you did. The test where you discharged the battery down to 2.9 volts and then saw what effect
Yeah, that was
had.
very interesting for me too.
I've never seen anyone test that and quantify that. It was very, very exciting to
But
see
I liked your feedback, a little bit of criticism that you said that I should have bought batteries like kind of sneakily so that manufacturers don't know that I'm gonna do the testing, and like that's kind of that's possible, that they can send like best batteries,
Yep.
I get that, yeah.
I don't actually think manufacturers are going to cherry pick like that. Like I said this. I was talking to Chris Rosser about this recently, actually. And I said, if you buy packs from like Race Day Quads or Pyrodrone or Get FPV, they're just going to go pick them off the shelf. There's no cherry picking there. But if you get packs from like GNB or CNHL, it's at least theoretically possible that they could pull a different cell and make you a special pack. I don't know if they would. I don't think they would, but it's theoretically possible.
So
yeah.
Good. I know that the three of us were in a conversation, and I'm not going to mention who, but we know like several people that own shops that had produced a battery, and we were complaining about the quality of this particular battery. And the behind the scenes story was they were sent a test batch that were exceptionally good.
Yeah.
They ordered
I know someone that
500 or 1,000.
I don't know if it's the same person.
Yep, you probably do know the same people, but
yeah,
they ordered a huge batch based on that test batch, and when the community started using them, they just were not up to par. And of course, Lamone called him on it, and then we heard the story. So
yeah, the manufacturer had screwed them, had given them good packs as samples, and then given them shitty packs with the delivery and kept their money, and they were screwed. So that's the second thing that I sort of got wound up about was if I do the test, then 3 months later, it's a new batch of batteries. Has the quality changed? And I just got myself really, I didn't want to put out information. Part of my brain was like, just do the test, put the video out. People will watch it. You'll get views. You'll get money, revenue. And then who cares? But I felt like if I was going to do scientific testing or real testing, I wanted it to be better than that. And I ended up sort of just being like, well, I don't know how to do this right, so I'm not going to do it. The other side of it was that sourcing batteries is very difficult. There was a big batch of batteries. Race Day Quads basically sent me every battery that they had and asked me to test it. Not every battery, every Race Day Quads battery that they had. And Lumineer sent me, Get FPV sent me a bunch of Lumineer batteries that I tested. And after that, it was very difficult to just test one battery and release a video about it. And so it just sort of stalled out. And right now the machine is going to Chris Rosser because Chris Rosser is trying to do battery testing.
That's gonna be
And
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's somebody else's problem. he'll do a good job, and he'll have to deal with those sort of moral, ethical, philosophical questions about how to do the testing right.
Yeah, he probably can do it right. That's like I have no doubts
Yeah.
on that. We'll see. Yeah. So, Mr. Eric, thank you very much for $10 super chat. Mr. Eric says, Ivan, keep up the great work. I thought your battery analysis was really enlightening. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for $10 super chat. Appreciate it. So, Mr. Bardwell, we kind of already covered the topic of like shady practices in the business, but I figured like you would know like more shady like what's the most shady practices in the business that you would know that company was doing or someone else was doing? Just like, share it with us if you don't mind.
Shady practices.
Yeah.
Like there's inside baseball stuff, but I kind of don't want to like call people out about stuff that like there are situations where products have been announced and promised and then not delivered. My God, I'll tell you the shadiest. No, I'll call so the shadiest person in FPV right now, if they are still in FPV, which they may not be, is Flight One.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Flight One was, as far as I know, taking orders. They took a bunch of orders for a flight controller that they didn't make. They kept all that money, or some people speculate that the money got lost on crypto. There's no evidence. That's just speculation. So they took all this money and they have all these back orders that they can't fill. And then they kept selling like a pyramid scheme. They kept trying to sell orders and promising that they're going to deliver product and not delivering product. And at one point had been over a year. They screwed vendors. There were people who would talk to us off the record, but would not go on the record. Who said that they and showed us evidence that they had $5,000, $10,000 orders with Flight One for their store that were never filled, according to them. And a year and a half or so after this went down, you could still place orders on their store, and they would still. I put in a test order just to see if they would take my money.
Oh, did you?
And they did. And it was like, this company is dead. They are never going to fill these orders. They cannot, because in the time that happened, everything got 2 or 3 times more expensive.
Right.
So there is no way they could have bought enough stuff to fill those back orders. They could. So, and now, of course, the company is.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mr. Neil was flying Flight One for a long time, and he's not even feeling guilty for that. Oh, look at that.
No, well, at the time that I was flying it, like I luckily stopped flying it before all that happened, or I would also be one of those people who had placed pre-orders and didn't get them.
But
like,
also,
I was just. Yeah,
but I feel like Mr. Bardwell trying to like sleep off because and talk about drama that everyone knows about. So the question.
Well, that's
like
so
the question
at this time. It seems like the store, the products are marked as unavailable.
All right, well that's good. What's
no,
available?
Flight controllers at least are marked as unavailable. Are they? Pre-order the Lightning H7 is marked as pre-order. Can you still buy a flight controller? No, I don't think you can. They still supposedly will sell you the motors anyway.
So besides that, like if we include like a Flight One, everyone knows about it, right? So we need to like, have you ever discovered something shady or unethical in FPV? And like, well, besides Flight One, what's the most? Just tell us.
Like companies selling shitty product and not standing behind it, not having like doing returns and stuff. Everybody knows about that too.
We need the names.
We need the names. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrel said yeah.
I'm not gonna start shit.
All right, yeah. So we're moving to the next question. John, you want to read, or Neil, you want to read number 7, for example?
All right.
Go ahead, Neil.
Have you ever felt like you sold? Whoa, you're making it pink while I'm trying to read it.
Oh, sorry about that.
Have you ever felt like you sold out or compromised your integrity for a sponsorship deal? Like,
no, but I'll tell you the kind of an answer to that question.
All right, sorry,
So-
Joshua, I'm sorry, like you weren't like I wasn't showing your camera. Can you please say no directly, like in the camera, so people can judge if they believe you or not?
No? Okay, ask me the question again.
All right, Neil, can you read the question again? This is like
Yes.
we're gonna see his reaction.
Mr. Bardwell, have you ever felt like you sold out or compromised your integrity for a sponsorship deal?
No? No. Here's so two parts to this answer. The first part is that people really overestimate how valuable sponsorships are to me.
Yep.
I don't mean to disparage the companies that I work with. It is valuable to work with companies. Some companies very valuable just to sort of be sort of in their stable, get access to early, like if somebody is in DJI's good graces, they get early access to these products that are going to be really freaking hot, and they get a day one release and they get a shitload of views. That's valuable. The DJI sends you a $300 camera, though. The $300 camera, it's $300. That's not very meaningful in the big scheme of things in terms of like running a YouTube channel with 300,000 subscribers. Let's put it that way. Obviously, to a lot of people in the world, $300 is a lot of money. But once you have a YouTube channel with 300,000 subscribers, a $300 product is not even remotely tempting it to make you compromise your integrity, because the value of your channel is in your integrity and your viewers' perception of your integrity. If that goes down, you lose everything. It's you killing the goose that laid the golden egg. So it doesn't even if I were completely motivated by money, it wouldn't make economic sense for me to shill my integrity for like a 300 or even a 500.
Well, what if
product.
like Get FPV gives you like $5,000 a month? I don't know, and then like, well,
so here's the next I wish also, first of all.
yeah.
So the next thing is, what about affiliate sales? So that's the first thing I want to get out is people say, oh, you got the quad for free and then you reviewed it. I'm like, it's a $200 quad. I don't give a fuck about a $200 quad that I got for free. If I wanted to review it, I would just spend $200 of my company's money and I would buy it and I would review it and then I would sell it or give it away. That's so that's just completely off base. So the affiliate sales are a much bigger chunk of my overall income. So
is the biggest you said?
Much bigger, not the biggest. And the way that I have sort of tried to balance that is that I have affiliates with as many stores as I can. So there's never a incentive to be nice to one particular store and put them over another. It's just all sort of out there. I just put all the links out there and people can pick and choose which one they want. So that's how I take that. But that's a little more like a little more. But again, you just have to have integrity and believe that your viewers' perception of your integrity is more valuable than anything else, and also just have integrity. The place where I have compromised my values in the past is when I have felt pressure to get a video out before it was ready. So either it's a product release and I'm running behind and the product comes out on such and such a day, and either I've committed to that day and don't want to slip that commitment, or it's a big product release and it's very important to me to be there on day one. And I release the video with something missing or a mistake in it. And later I'm like, I either I kind of knew that mistake was there, or I should have known, but I was in a hurry. And so the times when I've sort of compromised my own values and not risen to my own standard, it's not about money, but it's about, well, I guess in a way it's about money because the views turn into money, but mostly it's about, wanting to get a video out before it's ready.
So you want us to believe that this guy doesn't care about money? Like,
well, I wouldn't say I don't care about money.
Like, it just says money on his face.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about let's talk about the business of Bardwell. Like,
okay.
So you
sorry, Neil, I have to interrupt you, Neil. I'm sorry. Mr. Kevin, thank you very much for $99 super chat. He says,
Quad
"Howdy,
Doc.
yeah, Mr. Quad Doc. Yeah, I think
Quad
you're.
Doc.
Yeah. So, and he says, keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
and
Kevin.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
So,
All right,
yeah.
go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, so let's talk about the business of Bardwell for a bit. So, you talked a bit about affiliate sales being some portion, or affiliate link,
Yeah.
income being a portion of your sales. You've got some income coming in from like just YouTube views, and
Right.
we're just like, and Mr. Vaughn wrote it right here, and I can tell that he wrote it because it says, "How rich are you exactly? How rich?
How
you are
rich am I exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, I'm gonna not gonna release my
I guess
tax
like
documents
the
until I'm
question,
running for
like the
president.
way I like to judge without disclosing, the bank account value and all this stuff, and like most of the people they're like more rich than you or less rich than you.
I don't really like to hang out with people. I wouldn't say that I know very many people.
All right.
That's quite an
It's
answer.
hard for me to judge. It's hard because like I have income from the YouTube channel, and I have a lot of expenses. So I have a full-time editor who basically is just on salary.
Yeah.
I have other people. I am in a position where I have some money coming in because of my channel, and I try to make sure that I don't take advantage of people who are not in that position. So like if I were to do a collab with a big YouTuber, like I got to meet Potato Jet at Rampage. He has over 1 million subscribers. Like I wouldn't feel bad if he did some work for me and I didn't like pay him for it, because like we're both, I wouldn't say we're peers, but like I always try to make sure that I pay people when they do work for me or they help the channel in any way. So like there's money coming in, but there's money going out to
Sure.
products and so forth, business expenses and so forth. I'm able to keep paying my bills. I'm happy about that.
Good.
All right. Well, so because I need to be a bad cop, so without disclosing any actual values. So let's say like this. So if for some reason, I don't know, like your income cuts by half, do you at this point would you have to get a job? Like,
so if my YouTube income cut by half, I certainly would have to, like the last employee who's going to go. Actually, I guess he's the only one. Like he's still technically a contractor, but he's the only person who works for me who like I kind of think of like a full-time employee. But he'd be the last one to go, because the minute I start having to edit my own videos again, it's going to be so much time. But if my income cut by half, I'm not sure I could keep him. And what I would have to do is find other ways to make money.
all right.
Like hopefully still in the FPV space. But I still want to keep the channel going. Like I have stuff that I do on the side that's interesting and that supplements the incoming money. But the YouTube channel, like to me, is I like it. I enjoy it, and it's really valuable in that it sort of keeps me in touch with a lot of stuff in FPV that I maybe wouldn't be in touch with otherwise, and people.
All right. Well, Mr. Chris says in the super chat, how come no one has made a DJI O3 V2 Vista firmware compatibility table? All reviewers just describe what's compatible. I want a JB style Excel table. Like,
Yeah,
well,
no, I made that.
Did you make? All right. Cool. Well, Mr. Chris, thanks for $20 super chat, but Joshua Bardwell covered you.
I'm
So we're good.
It's done.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm trying to. I have to find it. V2 goggles won't bind to Vista VTX. No.
Well, this is
I
like
don't know.
live Bardwell for real. Look at this.
So it's
This
the
is
video where the 0101 firmware first came out, and the Vista got compatibility with the G2.
Like, I'm not even sure
Is it
what's the
this
problem
video?
here. I thought they're all compatible, but no, like V2 Vista. Like, if you have Vista, you can still bind it with any goggles, right? Like, or
no, because if you flash the firmware 01010000, it'll bind to the Integra and the G2, but not the V2. And if you're on firmware 0608, it'll bind to the V2, but not the G2 and the Integra.
Nah,
so what people do is That's
you
the
just
that's the
know
short
that
version.
is
Yeah,
wild.
look at that. Neil is so
Like,
pumped.
it's-
You just know
Yeah,
that.
it's
Like,
just-
it's affected so many people. I've had to type that answer so many times. That's
uh,
why I will never shut down my channel, because the reason I know that is because I've typed that email 50 times. and that's what the real value of the channel is to me. Obviously, also, it's fun and so forth, and it makes money, but having people email me questions, and then I learn things about what's going wrong and what people are having trouble with, is so valuable.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I guess if you really think about, you help keep people, not only get people in the hobby, right? Because like a lot of your viewers are new to the hobby and learning how to set stuff up. But where I've been flying for 10 years, and where I find myself on my way to your channel is when I'm really struggling with something weird, and then you're saving me from some real frustration there. And
Yeah.
so I think just as much as you've brought people into the hobby, like you've kept people in the hobby by providing that crucial piece of information that got somebody back in the air. Because sometimes it's just as simple as a freaking checkbox that you just didn't have that one. But like until you are told that, you'll never find that checkbox. And so, I mean, I just think to think about that real value is like that's something.
now
really
let's see how
powerful.
Joshua Bardwell are receiving compliments.
It means it means a lot. Like, the thing that I value most about my job is the ability to help people. And it's not magnanimous. I'm just deeply, deeply insecure. So when people ask me questions and then I can help them and answer the question, it it feeds my ego, but
Right.
also soothes my insecurity that, oh, look, I'm valuable, I'm helping people. But it does mean that there's a lot of people out there who have positive sentiment toward me and feel like I've helped them. And that's like, I like to imagine someday I'm going to die, and then a whole bunch of strangers will show up at my funeral and tell my wife how much I meant to them. And that, I feel good about that.
Yeah, I can
Well,
see that. I mean,
honestly, I think
that's
like
definitely a real thing.
Bardwell, I think like you're also a person like why I started like doing coding for Betaflight. First of all, you taught me
wow.
a lot about Betaflights, because I knew about PIDs and stuff, but then you taught me all of the other stuff. Like I was watching a lot of your videos to learn about anti-gravity, all of this stuff, and then at some point I was watching your video and I think I can fix it. I don't remember what was that, but like you are certainly guilty for that. So
Thank you. I actually, I'll tell you this. I don't say this out loud because I'm not sure it's actually right and it sounds egotistical, but I'll tell you, I secretly think that I invented anti-gravity.
All right.
I remember, and this absolutely did happen. I was having a conversation. It must have been, I don't know where it was. It must have been in a Slack channel, maybe way back when. I was talking with Boris, and I was talking about the problem where when you punch the throttle, the nose dips.
Yeah.
And I said, what if when the throttle was moving, you boosted the eye gain? Now, I promise you that conversation happened. And in the next version of Betaflight, anti-gravity was in there. Now, probably they were already thinking of that. But in my mind, anti-gravity is the feature that I contributed to Betaflight.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. I believe you, I believe you. Yeah. So that was, Mr. Nice. That was very nice of you. You're behaving like a good cop. So, like, while Joshua Bardwell is relaxed, we're going to punch you with another question,
Okay.
So, and I think also Mr. Nice skipped this question on purpose. Like, what the heck, Neil? So is it true, like, because we dug some dirty rumors about you, like, while doing our homework. And one of the dirty rumors says that you need some substantial donations from a company or person to review his product. Like, is it true?
Absolutely not true. Absolutely not true.
How do you pick? Because obviously you don't have time to review everything. I believe you you receive like 10 products a day.
I don't. I'm not going to say that I have never taken money for a review. I have always disclosed it when it's happened, and generally I don't, and recently I don't. if how do I pick what product? Because I just pick stuff that I think is interesting, and or that I think that people will want to know about. So, like for example, these Flywhoo, the little Flywhoo 2-inch Dragonfly, whatever they're called. I had the idea that they make them with every video transmitter, analog, HD0, walk snail, and DJI. And I was like, that would be a really cool video. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, do you want to make a video where we compare all 4 of these? If somebody, honestly, I am overwhelmed with offers for product to review. To the point where, and I just mostly, I'm like, oh my God, not again, and delete them. And I probably miss out on interesting products because like somebody will be like, hey, have you seen this new thing? And I'll be like, oh, that is really cool. Wow, I think I got an email about that 6 months ago and just deleted it. It is 100% untrue that you have to pay me to get you to me to review your product. I won't take your product if you offer me money unless it's a really large amount of money, and then I'll always disclose it.
All right.
And most of the time, the reason that people offer me products to review and I ignore them is that I'm just super busy doing stuff that I'm interested in, and it is very hard to punch through that noise and convince me that your product is the one that I should be interested in.
Well, we got $19 from Mr. Brandy. She's Mr. Nice's wife, and she says this is for Neil to stop spinning his fidget spinner.
Yeah, I saw it when it came in. I already put it down. She got it.
Yeah, all right. Well, so I don't know, guys. Do you believe Bardwell and his answers? Like, I think
Unknown subject says I'm really fidgety and nervous.
I can tell you, I've never been offered money for a review. If any companies out there do want to pay some money for a little bit of extra production quality, that would be fine with me. But I would not sign anything that would dictate what I would say. And like part of that goes back to the walk snail that we're trying to send people contracts on what they could and couldn't say.
No, that was Meps King. Wasn't it Meps
King? Yeah, Meps King. You're right.
I don't know if Walk Snail did it. I would hate for them to get a bad rap, though.
They didn't offer money, but there was something about you had to agree to, and I declined a set of goggles for that system. I declined the Meps King motors.
How much did they ask? Like, did they want to pay you or whatever it was?
They did not want to pay me. They just wanted they wanted to limit what you could say. And so like for me personally, I don't eat off of my channel. So like I always want to reserve the right to say like this is a huge piece of crap. And so like that's worth
and the problem is that like let's say they come and they say we respect your time. We know your time is valuable and we want to just pay you a little bit of money. Say whatever you need to say. We don't care. You're free to say it. Here, just here's some money, right? Like, what could be wrong with that? And the problem is that your viewers are going to not believe you when you say things about the product. I mean, and also, if you accept the money and then you make a video that is like, this product is trash, I'm going to feel bad. Like, I'm sorry I took your money.
Yeah.
Your product is trash. So, like, it just makes things really complicated. I'll tell you, though, some vendors have figured out a way around this.
All right. What's that?
They send you the product. You review the product. After the review comes out, they just donate to your channel. What are you going to do?
Yep.
Okay.
But like, that's like,
and then
what are you going to do? So, but like, so that's one thing if it just happens, but what if it's like strongly suggested that this person's product, say, gets bumped up in the order?
They don't do that. Yeah. I've never had them do that. I've never had either. It's very, very rarely is it an outright offer. Like we'll pay you and you review this product. Very, very rarely. In the FPV space.
Right.
Sometimes it's thank you for the review. We really appreciate it. We made a donation to your channel. Nice. I mean, I could refund the donation.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, in my opinion, you should keep it. You worked for it, right? It is honestly to cover your time if you really think about it. Like, but I understand where you say that, like that it clouds the judgment there, or it clouds how how your viewers may feel about what you say about it. So and that's a real value for sure.
I always try to maintain a certain level of contempt for the companies that send me product, so that at no point is my judgment. Am I like, oh yeah, this is a good company, I like them. I always try and like keep a little bit of standoff and just mentally think of them as annoying.
So have you ever done like a
just
video where you just like review a product that is garbage, or you just know it's garbage and then you don't review it at all?
So I have done product reviews in the past, like the Eachine EV100 goggles come to mind, or there was a company, I'm not even going to remember their name. They made FPV goggles and they were just absolute freaking garbage. And I've done that, but more and more these days, if I think a product is garbage, I just won't review it, and I'll just do something else with my time, just because that's not that interesting to me, and it's not good.
But also people should know that, like, because people searching for this product, and then there will be your video saying it's garbage, and then it will stop them from buying.
Right. So if there's a product that I think, see, the problem is that my making a review out of a bad product, raises the visibility of that product so high that it may make more sales off of my bad review than if I did nothing. Like, obviously I can't know for sure. A lot of time, but if there's a product that I think a lot of people are going to buy and are interested in that has a flaw that people are overlooking, then I may feel like I need to go ahead and get a video out about it.
Hey, Brandy, I think you need to donate more so that Neil stopped spinning.
Oh
that
fuck!
thing.
I picked up another one. That's hilarious.
One.
I'm such I'm just
Neil is so nervous because we got Bardwell on the live stream. Yeah, look at that.
So we had a super chat from Shames, Heart of America FPV, and he asks, "Who is your favorite racer, and why is it Vanover?"
My favorite racer. I mean, all the top racers are so damn good. It's hard to pick a favorite. There's people that I know personally and are my friends, and so obviously they stand out. Who is my favorite racer though? I don't know. I don't know if I could.
Well, I think you may have missed the back end of the question, and it's like,
why is it Vanover?
Your favorite racer? Yeah, and why is it Vanover?
It's Vanover because he's the best. It's here's the thing about Vanover. Nobody brings the WWE vibe like Vanover.
Yeah.
Yep.
What that means WW? I'm sorry.
Like a wrestler, wrestler.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
He can talk. He can talk shit.
He can. Yeah. But he's also.
Although he's backed it off. Like, I'll say that Vanny has we all get older, we all mature, and he definitely used to talk a lot more shit when he was younger, and and he has, as he's matured. Now he's like an old married man, right? So, yeah. I think he's really. I think it's still inside of him. He's still talking shit in his head, but I don't think he lets it out as much.
Yeah, that was always just for show. He's actually a super humble guy.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't downplay his own talents, but if you meet him in real, people are like, he's so arrogant. And it's like, he's really not. I know. I'll say who my favorite is. My favorite, Halo Walker stands out to me.
Wow.
Here's why Halo Walker stands out to me. Before Halo Walker got on DRL, I did a Velocidrone combat session with people from my Discord, and Halo Walker's on my Discord, and I guess that means he's one of my patrons. And I didn't know who he was. He was just this guy that showed up, and I was like, this guy is good. He was just destroying us all. And I watched some of his racing, and I'm like, this guy is really good. And then before I know it, he's on DRL, and I'm like, whoa, Halo Walker from my Discord server? He's on DRL. Yeah. Wow, he's really good.
So
if I have to pick Halo Walker, somebody who stands out.
He was a foreign exchange student from Germany, and he actually came to Houston 4 years ago with his exchange family and was interested in drones. So he came out and actually met all of us when he was 14 or 15 years old.
With a wizard. Yeah, showed up with a wizard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And 4 years
Wow.
later, he comes to our night spot to train with us before his first race on DRL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he really has. I mean, like he's definitely. You talk about people that talk shit. Like he definitely talks shit too. So he's in the same way that when Vanny was young and he rubbed a lot of people wrong. Like Halo Walker has done exactly the same thing as he's come onto the scene too. But what I really want to compliment Halo Walker on is that he showed up. Like he won the sim tryouts, right? And then
Right.
everybody knew that he would do good in the sim, but he really did struggle IRL in his first season. But between season 1 and season 2, he really put some serious work in and figured out that Racer 4 and
Yeah.
came back on season 2 and like really was able to do well in several of the races. So I mean, like, it's one thing to talk shit, but it is always helpful if you're able to back it up. And I think in the beginning he was talking shit and wasn't backing it up, and that's kind of why he might have like rubbed a lot of people wrong. But he did come back and was able to back it up some. So like, props to him for that for sure.
I'm also a big fan of Alex Campbell, Chief.
Oh yeah, we all love
he
Chief.
is from the Knoxville area. I'm not sure exactly which city he's in. And I met him years ago at a local race in Knoxville, and I was like, oh, this guy's all right. But I don't think he stood out to me as like a national class or world class racer. And when I heard he got on DRL, I knew that he got on DRL as a result of like a lot of work and grinding to get there. And I had a lot of respect for him having achieved that. I see guys like Min Chan Kim, Vanover, Evan Turner, and I know that they practice, but I also know that they could roll out of bed bleary eyed and still put in laps like that. And I don't know, I don't want to take anything away from the work they put in, but when I see a guy who like feels human to me, who then did that much work to get to that level, there's a level of kind of like admiration there. So he stands out to me too.
Cool. All right. So we gotta move on to the next probably spicy question. So, is there a video or statement that you've made in the past that you now regret or wish you would take back?
Well, any videos that I regret and wish I would take back are privated, so they're gone.
He did take it back.
Like that you've already taken them back, or you never put them out there?
No. They're videos that I published that I was like, I don't think this should be out there anymore, and they're privated.
Okay. So, what was that?
Yeah,
we want to know then.
Yeah,
What was that about?
What's the last few you took down?
All right. I'll look. I'm gonna go to my channel dashboard. I'm gonna filter by private videos.
Oh, someone says don't mention the skirt video, so I have to now mention the skirt video. What's that about?
I don't know what skirt video they're talking about.
Me neither.
I mean, I used to wear sarongs a lot. And so there's a ton of videos with me in sarongs.
Yeah.
But I don't know which specific video they're talking about.
Right. Well, that's not exactly a skirt.
Oh yeah, I remember you had a video of like, or maybe it was like a piece of the video. You're just basically telling people to shut the fuck up about your skirt or how you call it. Yeah. Was it the whole video? But
the sarong.
Sarong? Yeah, I don't know this name. Sorry.
So I've got a video where Caddx said DJI was going to end their partnership with Caddx and the Vista VTX would no longer be supplied from July 2022. I privated it, although that ended up actually happening when Walk Snail came out. That was after Walk Snail came out. I'm not sure why I privated that, but I was like, meh. Maybe that doesn't need to be out there. Let's see. I privated the interview with Greg French of Fat Shark from the Walk Snail release. I don't know if people remember this, but when I released the goggle video, there was a review of the goggles, and then there was a full interview with Greg French. And I thought the interview was super awkward, and I also felt like I could have gone a little harder with the questions and didn't really. So I took it down because I was like, I don't think this needs to be out there.
But it was out. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Does KISS Ultra fly better than FetTech G4 blind flight test?
All right.
That's
what
private.
was that about?
I'm just tired of Kiss Ultra fans coming at me, and it didn't
Mm.
get very many views, so it wasn't a great loss.
But why
I
did
was
you
just
put
like,
it down?
fuck this video.
Like
Because it makes people like it makes people come
angry?
at me.
Like what do you mean come at you? Like they don't come at your house, they just comment on video. Who cares, right?
I read the comments. I read the comments and I'm like, oh, you're killing me.
But like you don't have to read the comments, right? So like I don't know.
You think that's true, but somehow I read all the comments.
Well, I read all the comments too, but I don't have as many as you. Like that's a lot of work to read all the comments if you're Bardwell.
I read the ones I get notifications for. I'll tell you the last one. The last one is, this is the biggest problem with Express LRS Beta FPV micro OLED module. And the point of that video was that the Beta FPV micro OLED module, when it first came out, had a whole bunch of problems and no one should buy it. And the title of the video was, this is the biggest problem with Express LRS because inconsistent hardware quality, because this is an open source project, is a big problem that people expect from their flight controllers, but don't expect from their receivers. But a whole lot of people who are fans of Express LRS were like, yeah, it's not fair. You shouldn't say that. And I finally was like, okay, maybe the title's a little clickbaity. And the Beta FPV module isn't, that's all in the past. So I just took that video down. There you go.
All
Things
right.
you regretted. I guess that counts.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, well, you gave a lot. So, yeah. Is there any like all right?
Inverted pitch is dumb, and you are dumb if you use it. Is a live stream clip where I talked about
inverted pitch. What is that?
Inverted pitch. So people invert the pitch axis because it makes it like a first-person shooter.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Right? And it's a live stream clip, but there were too many people who were like, Bardwell, you're being mean. You shouldn't be mean. You're calling people dumb. And I was like, fine. So I took it down.
What?
Like,
we're way more mean than that.
Yeah, we certainly are. Yeah, Neil says because fuck you on my videos all the time to people.
Yeah,
but maybe people think you say it to me, but it's not true.
Although I feel like I only said it once, and then you put it on the video all the time.
I know. I like really. All right, so you ready for the next question?
Super chat.
Yes, I'm ready.
Super chat real quick from Turtle Mode FPV, and he said, "Y'all earned my last $3."
Oh, and then he donates 20, and then he donates 20. So
now he's minus 17 on his bank account.
Damn, all right, well, I appreciate your super chat, but don't spend your last money for the super chat. So also
apparently I uploaded a setup guide for the Rotor Riot Vision 40, privated it, and then forgot it existed and never published it. So
damn.
Searching for private videos, I was like, why is that video private?
So what that cost you? I'm curious. So like, if you have your average video that you put out, you get some revenue per. Like, I'm the business guy always, so got to go back to the business part, and it's like, so you made a video and then you went to put it out and it didn't go out, and like your videos probably get what average? I don't know. Your average video gets what 20, 30,000
20,
views?
30, in the first 2 or 3 weeks.
So like what's not clicking that? What that mistake cost you there?
I mean, I can still. It's not going to cost me very much because I can still publish that video.
Oh, good call.
It would be a little more valuable if it was timely with the review because you cross promote between the review and the video. I'm really shocked, that I didn't upload it twice, and then this one's private but another one's live. I don't know what my RPM is.
What's RPM stand for me? And I'll pretend like I know, but for all the viewers out there,
revenue per meal or revenue per thousand. So your CPM is what YouTube charges the advertisers per 1,000 views, and your RPM is what you take home per 1,000 views. I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So I don't know how much that translates to in terms of advertising money, but the place where it really hurts is if you have a very time sensitive video, like a product has just been released, and by the time you put the video out, 20 other YouTubers have their video already out, and you miss out on clicks. That's where you really lose something.
How much?
No one's really looking for this video.
How much it takes for you to make on average, like in time, like let's say a video of 10 minutes, how much time you spend on making it?
So I think that it depends on the video. Some videos you just sit down, you talk for a half hour, and then boom, off to the editor. Some videos have a lot more production. Like I recently did a video where I did a real estate house fly through. It hasn't been published yet. So I had to find a real estate agent who I had who a friend of mine knew. I asked him, "Hey, do you have any houses I could do a fly through of?" That was 3 months ago. So we finally got together. We had a house. I went out there. I spent all day out there flying through the house, talking about the process. The video is still not done because I have segments back in the studio to do, and it's going to be 20 hours, let's say.
But that's 20 hours with recording and like talking to that guy, meeting with him, right?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, but mostly it's time I spent out at the house, flying around, setting up, preparing. It's the time in the studio. Like I'm going to talk about why I set the GoPro up the way I did. I'm going to show the gyroflow process, all of the recording of all that. And then of course the editor's time, which is not my time, but it counts toward the production. He may spend, for a video like that, he may spend. The problem is that if a video generates a shitload of raw footage, it's going to be much slower to edit, even if at the end it's only 15 minutes. So a typical for a 10-minute video, maybe 4 to 6 hours, let's say.
All right. Well, that's about 3 times faster than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how
done
much has that
a lot.
improved over time? So, you've had your channel now for how long have you had your channel active?
I mean, I've been uploading FPV content since about 2015.
Yeah.
So
I had
8
my channel
years.
before then, but it was just video parking for my personal videos.
And like, at what point? Now I'm just going down a rabbit hole, but I'm curious. At what point did you go from, "Hey, I'm Joshua Bardwell, just regular dude posting my flight footage," to "I'm going to be the Joshua Bardwell that everybody knows today, that we're going to learn something from"?
Never set out to be the Joshua Bardwell everybody knows today. I did start out making educational content from day one. And it was only like, I remember people saying, "You should start a Patreon. I would support you." And it's like, no. So like, I still, it took me a long time to sort of internalize how people felt about me and who they thought I was.
So we got a few controversial super chats. So Mr. Cleve says, just for sends $5 or New Zealand dollars. It says just for Limon's majestic hair. Thank you.
Oh,
and then we got J Rice, which is believed to be a sock puppet FPV, and he says, "Cut your hair, you sock puppet." So sock puppet accusing me of being a sock puppet. And also we got $5 super chat from Al Mac FPV, and he says, "As a Kiss Fat Tech guy, I was super bummed that you took that video down, but I get it. BF versus Kiss Fat Tech gets heated." Yeah. Well, my video about Kiss wasn't. I was expecting there will be a lot more angry Kiss users in the comments of my video when I look at the Kiss, but it's all right.
But you also took it easy. You always try to be the bad cop, but you took it more easy.
I was thinking I took it too hard, but I guess
but compared to what you told me behind the scenes, and then I watched the video, you didn't put it all out.
You gotta read it like between the rows, because I put all the information there, but I wasn't super spicy in wording. So, yeah. All right. So you ready for the next question, Mr. Bardwell? We're like,
let's do it.
1.5 hours, and we're not even halfway through our questions. We need to speed it up. I want, because some of these questions are very exciting. I want to hear all the answers. So
you're gonna have to start being picky.
Well, and we gotta speed it up. So Neil, shut the fuck up.
I need to shut the fuck up. I'm the one who talks too much.
No, this is your show. So, interrogation. Okay. So you gotta speak. So, backstab story. Someone in the FPV community ever backstabbed you or betrayed you? Like, how did you handle that?
I'm not gonna do that because it would just raise the drama again.
All right.
And I'm just not interested in that. If there was a situation where there was drama and that drama has faded into the past, then I don't want to invite the other parties to the drama to start talking about it again.
But that happened, right?
Smart.
So, that happened.
I can think of at least one situation that I think would fit that bill, but There's just no.
All right.
It would just be digging it back up, and frankly, it's better if it just stays dead.
That's
I
fair.
like it.
Neil
pass on that one.
respects
So it's
that.
happened, but it's happened, but you're taking the gentlemanly approach and leaving it behind.
It's no, I'm not like trying to be a gentleman. I'm just for my own sanity and mental health. I want to never think about that person.
I like that.
All right, cool.
I like that.
So
Yeah. All right. So the next question, we're gonna move fast. All right. So
right.
Bardwell kind of slipped off this question. We respect that, especially Neil.
Okay.
So the next question, is
it's
there a
not, wait. I'm sorry. It's not Bot Grinder.
Oh, it's not.
Actually,
All
me
right.
and Bot Grinder.
Oh, okay.
Atreides in the chat says cough Bot Grinder. I just want to say I am a fan of Bot Grinder, and I think I would say that we're on good terms. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. Yeah, it's not Bot Grinder. I can't think of a time. There's been one time when I thought Bot Grinder did something that I was like, hey, and then I actually I called him on a live stream and we hashed it out and we were good.
All right. Yeah.
But no, there's no bad blood between me and Block Rider, at least not on my
Nice.
side.
Cool. All right.
So,
Yeah. Well,
keep them in the dark then. Whoever
Yeah.
it is, they're back.
so,
there.
is there a product or brand you secretly love but would never publicly endorse because it might hurt your reputation? This is like.
Well, that's interesting. Like, for example, there was a time when the answer to that might have been DJI. I will say, when the DJI FPV system first came out, I was way more cagey about being like when I tried it, like I wouldn't say I was an immediate fan of it because it wasn't as good on day one as it became later with firmware updates. But like I could see that everybody was going to it and that was a reality. And there was a long time when I was like sort of artificially maintaining this, analog there, DJI's there too. And I was just like, no, clearly I'm putting DJI on all my birds. But I thought that publicly it was the way to be.
Yeah. I remember at some point that's true. All right. Well, that's I think that's interesting. That's kind of also like about like a lot of people would agree because at some point DJI was like good, but like kind of not cool to fly. So
I'm a fan of Walk Snail.
Really?
I have become more of a fan of Walk Snail when I've seen what they've done. Their raw performance is not on par with DJI, but things they've done like the low light camera, like the new low latency mode, clearly like the 1S video transmitter, clearly show that they are trying to find ways to solve problems for people. And DJI is like, here's our thing. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Oh, there's this thing you want? Huh. Well, tough shit. And like
well, in this perspective, yeah.
But if I say I like Walk Snail, people are gonna be like, oh, he's just shilling for Rotor Riot. So that's another example of like I probably would be less vocal about being a fan of them just because I don't want to deal with that.
So there we go, Mr. Bardwell, Walk Snail fanboy. That's it. That's
right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Now that's it. Like that's it. We're done.
Wait, what? We're done?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
So all right, the next question. Like because we already talked about some rumors about you that you're taking donations for doing reviews, like a giant donations. Apparently, that's one rumor.
By the way, I will.
All
I
right.
will.
Look
For a big enough donation, I will find it really hard to say no. And I'll be like, well, guys, they offered me $5,000 to review this product, so I'm going to review it, and you can take it or leave it, but I'm taking my dang money.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, most people just don't offer enough money to get me. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So we had that rumor about you that you act like receiving donations if you want people to review, which could be not true according to Bardwell. The other rumor is that you're doing crowd surfing face forward for like some purposes that we don't really know.
1000% true.
Yeah. So what is the wildest rumor that you've heard about yourself? That it might not be true, or maybe true, but you're secretly just telling people that it's not true?
I like people will make up that I'm going to events.
People
will be like, hey Bardwell, I heard you were going to be at such and such an event, and I'm like, no, I don't know why. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to that. I don't know where that came from.
All right. Well, speaking about the events, Mr. Bardwell, why the heck you're not going to IO? Like this is, you know.
IO this year. So this year, I think I had a conflict. But many years in the past, I haven't gone. I don't go many places. I mostly don't like to travel. That's one of the things I get out of my relationship with Rotor Riot. People are like, why does he, why is he a fan of Rotor Riot? Why does he work with Rotor Riot? And, it's not like because I'm getting rich off it. But to be fair, they do pay for appearances. I want to be clear about that because that's something that people have, complained about in the past. But mostly I do it because they are like, hey, we're doing this shoot, we're going to be in this city, we've got these really cool things lined up, and they're my friends, I like to hang out with them, and we do cool shit together. So the one year I went to IO was because Drew called me up and he was like, we're getting an RV and we're going to IO, we're going to be at your house on this and this date, be ready. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to IO. But I don't go a lot of places, I just don't travel a lot.
I remember, I think it was like one of your live streams or maybe just videos or something that you were like shit talking about IO. You were like, why would I go to IO? There's nothing to do there, like, or something.
That's not what I said. That's not right. I think what I said was that from my perspective, IO is mostly about the racing.
Well, that's
I know
true.
that a lot of other stuff goes on at IO. Everyone's there. There's a lot of partying. I don't actually really like to party very much. There's a lot of people there. I actually don't enjoy meeting people. I find it very stressful. I understand that is a thing that people do, and sometimes when I do it, I enjoy it after the fact, but I never want to do it before the fact. So like I go to Rampage, because my friends are there, and it's a freestyle event. I'm gonna get to rip some awesome spots. I always mostly about racing. I know there's freestyle flight line, etc., but I'm like, eh.
All right. Well, Neil thinks that you have to go to IO, like, and
Well,
Jenny,
it is
and
my
Johnny
favorite
Pipe says
event of
that
the year,
you're not
but-
even FPVing if you're not going to IO. So,
Yeah. Well,
That's
This
a
year I
good
had a
pork
conflict,
sandwich
so it
there.
doesn't
The
matter.
pork sandwich is
Yeah.
excellent.
it is good, but I mean, you're not wrong to say that it is. Well, that is racing focused event for sure. But to
Yeah.
say that racing is the only thing that happens at IO,
No,
is,
and I
is-
didn't
is
say
for
that.
sure. Yeah. Right. I'm just more like talking about in general. Like it is a racing focused event. Like the marquee events are racing. There is a freestyle area, and it is for sure a side thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, but IO's about it's like the AMA field in Muncie is the playa of FPV, right? Like it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like it is the like a mecca event that exists right now. I'm like alongside Rampage. Like I'd say that Rampage is that for freestyle. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, you got
All
Freeze,
right.
you got Rampage, and
Yeah.
IO. Chet Max says, "What lol?" But he goes to Burning Man. No, you don't get it. My wife came to me, and she said, "Hey, there's this thing called Burning Man. I think it's really cool, and I want to go." And I was like, "What is that?" And she told me about it. I was like, "That sounds terrible." And she was like, "Well, I really want to go. I think I'm going to go." And I was like, "Well, okay, I guess I'll go. I'll go with you." Because
Well,
so
that's
I only went to Burning Man because my wife dragged me along, and I got into it and I made the most of it and I enjoyed it after the fact, but I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of interesting because, like, if my wife tells me let's go to Burning Man, I would just never go. I hate concerts. I hate crowd. I don't really like to hang with people I don't know. But I love IO. Like that's kind of weird.
Well,
so,
you're a racer though, and you're
yeah,
probably.
but also
you
I
probably
like.
And
place.
you know a lot of people there.
Yeah, I know a lot, but
Like-
well, I didn't know a lot of people the first couple of years. So that's and.
And you're a good racer.
Well,
I mean, you
at
probably
IO,
were
like
on the-
I am
you-
like I cannot win IO. Obviously, my best position was like 20 or something. It's not like
That's pretty good.
you know.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
Like you're at least competitive. I'm not even on the board. I'm not.
well,
even in the
you
bracket.
can go and compete with Quad Dog, right? He would love to compete against
No,
you.
he's even smoking me right now. He's gotten so good. He's been
all right.
practicing. He's gotten so good.
All right.
That's the real reason I don't go. If I go to a racing event, then people will see how much I suck. I can't have that.
But it's okay to suck though. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
that's,
just say
you know-
that like
I'm just joking.
you
I'm
are a
just joking.
shit pilot, and it's okay.
I need
right?
I
Like,
need a shit pilot. Do
Oh,
you still have more of the shit pilot
we-
hoodies?
We gotta
Oh, yeah,
send.
we'll
we
have to
gotta
get
send
you
to you.
one
Yeah,
of
we'll
those.
send to you.
Sure.
Yeah,
I know they were limited edition. I desperately
Yeah.
want one.
Yeah.
right there. You want this one or with
Yeah.
Beta Flight?
I love the shit pilot. I love that. It's so great.
Nice.
Well,
yeah.
so
We
it's
gotta
okay.
Yeah, I'm
we
down.
gotta arrange you. Yeah, we just need to know like
Yeah.
your address and size, whatever you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We'll
cool.
we'll work it out afterwards.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
awesome. Yeah, so we kind of went through a couple of questions before, so I'm gonna skip a few of them.
Go ahead.
Who do you consider your biggest rival or competitor in FPV community, and why? Maybe like an
You know what? There was a time when me and UAV Futures were very, very close in sub count, and he actually passed me in sub count and was climbing away from me. And I really was like, "Oh, what is he doing? What is he doing that I'm not doing?" And felt really competitive with him, but obviously in a friendly way. And then his channel, he kind of left his channel, dropped his channel for a bit for reasons which he's talked about. I kind of missed that rivalry that he was completely unaware of.
Mhm.
Right now, I don't know if there are other channels. It's a change in the sort of the way that YouTube works is once you start to get big, you continue to be big within your little bubble. And I think I am close to the top of that sort of YouTube bubble, and there aren't very many other channels that are in that sort of size in the FPV space. And so I don't know. There's other channels that I like. Bacon Ninja is making really good content. There's other people like he just comes to mind. There's
Mhm.
other people. Madstech makes great content. A lot of like I see his sub count and I'm like, this guy, he's gonna do well. So there's people that I'm watching. Yvonne, you make good content. You should make more content.
Yeah,
Um,
I wish I could. It just takes me crazy amount of time per video.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah.
I've been
So
telling him.
But like when you Yeah. When you talk about who's your competitor, like the place you look is sub count. And if there aren't people who are like close or coming up on your sub count or passing you, then it's hard to like see them as a competitor. I guess you could see them as a competitor. Like I look at who's the freaking Matt Pochwat. His videos
yeah.
are so well made. I look at those videos and I see him as a competitor in that he's making the kind of content that I wish I knew how to make and getting lots of views for it too. Even though he doesn't have a lot of subs, his view count is bananas.
mm.
Yeah,
He
he's
makes
really good
great
at that.
content.
Is
Is
it
there
a
anyone
FPV
that?
channel?
Yeah,
All right. Oh, I gotta check it out.
it's more beginner focused, but he's really high production quality. Is there anyone that maybe not sub count wise, but everybody kind of has like the thing that they're good at, and you're like exceptionally good at several different things, which is I think why you've managed to
Mhm.
stay relevant for so long. But like sort of the long form tutorials and the very detailed deep dive reviews. Is there anyone that you see that is doing that it's like, oh man, it's very close to what I can do and just a little bit better? Like is Pachwat the
I
main one that
mean,
comes to mind? Is there anyone else?
so Pochwat comes to mind because what he does that I can't do. I mean, I wish I could. I don't know. I don't want to say like can't because like I don't know. Anyway, what he does is he makes the videos entertaining and accessible and in a way that I don't. Because my approach to a video is I sit down and I start talking about things, and I have a skill at arranging the way that I talk about them. But his videos are entertaining in a way that mine aren't. They have B-roll, they have really nice camera angles and lighting, and he just has those. So to be able to make content, you have to be quick and good and efficient. And so, like for me to like plan a shot and set up lighting like he does, I just don't have the skill to do that efficiently, and I couldn't meet my video schedule. But he has those skills, and I think he can do those things efficiently and quickly. Um, yeah, and I'm just missing that stuff. Limon, your videos have a lot of humor in them, and I watch them, and I'm like, this guy's funny. Why don't I put? Occasionally, I put funny stuff in my videos, but like usually, I'm just like, let's get her done. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We kind of started with Neil and like this channel, and like I was like just making jokes, and that's kind of how it
Yeah,
started. So I don't know. I'm not
yeah.
that funny in real life though. Like that's kind of crazy. Neil,
I don't
I'm
know.
that
Nah,
funny in real life.
he's pretty. He is
Uh,
that funny in real
yeah,
life.
yeah,
Unintentionally
you are.
funny a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
think
times,
you are.
which is even funnier.
That it's so charming sometimes. It's just like your accent sometimes, like you're not intending to be funny, but like you say stuff that is very funny.
I'm also pretty good at ruining jokes. Someone says the joke and I'm like,
Yeah, I
say it
love
again.
that.
What did you mean? Sorry,
Yeah,
say it again.
don't try to tell Yvonne like an actual joke. Like it'll flop every time.
Is that like an English as a second language thing?
Yeah.
Or is it just you have no sense
Yeah.
of humor?
No, he's
well,
really funny. He just can't just sometimes like doesn't translate like weird
yeah.
things.
Especially
to, like,
jokes.
in order-
They usually should be told like fast, and then I just hard like to understand. And then it's like, what the fuck was that? Can you repeat it? Or what that word means? Like I need to Google something from Urban Dictionary to understand it, or like
Right.
Oh,
Right.
and then that's its own fun rabbit hole. If you get Yvonne on Urban Dictionary
and
like,
just
oh
force me
gosh,
to read it through. Like just
Yeah.
read it loud through.
I've
That
had
should be
people
its own live stream.
try to explain Russian jokes to me,
All right.
and it's they're never literal. Is my take on it.
Yeah, you can say
they
that.
all hinge on these idioms and euphemisms, and I say to the guy, tell me the literal translation of the phrase you're saying as the punchline of the joke, and he says the words, and I'm like, that doesn't even parse. And he's like, I know, you just it's the
Doesn't even
context.
parse.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. By the way, do you remember? I was wondering because, well, obviously you know me now, but do you remember when did you know me and when the first time we met each other in person? Just
I'm sure I don't. Like,
all right.
I know. I'm sure you're going to tell me I met you sometime, and I don't remember
Yeah.
it.
So
I just
I'm
want
pretty
to
sure
start.
you will remember it. Well, first time we met in online, I was the guy translating your channel. Do you remember that?
That was you.
Yeah, that was me. I was the guy who started translating.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that
That's
was
how
you.
because it was so
Years
it
ago.
was cool for me too because like I was sort of in the transfer of like moving to US and I needed to learn some English, like just get better in English and understanding, and I was translating you also like
I would never have. I mean, like, obviously I know that guy.
yeah.
So years ago, this guy reached out to me. He said, I'm Russian. I want to dub your videos. And I said, okay, here's what let's do. I'm going to make a Russian language channel, and you dub the video and you upload them. You'll have control of the channel, but it'll be under my username.
Yeah.
And I said, if it ever gets monetized, I'll split the money with you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
monetized.
that was fun. And then someone else picked it up. I kind of enjoyed it too. Yeah, but then it kind of died because I moved to US and then I got busy with Neil. So
dubbing is a lot of work.
Yeah.
No, do you know what? Now that you say that, I can remember the Russian speaker from those videos. I remember his voice, and now I can tell it's your voice.
All right. That's interesting.
I feel like I can. I don't know.
And
maybe.
so, and then you don't also remember when we first time met in real life, don't you?
Probably not.
So it was in Houston. It was like one of the.
Yeah.
And then I was the guy who was taking photo with you while kicking you with my leg in the butt. Do you remember these photos? I was like, we gotta make this photo, Bardwell. I'm just kicking you in the butt and just taking selfie of that. And then you're like, well, then I gotta kick you too. And then we got these photos.
That was for Quad Camp, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's why we were out there.
Yeah.
We went to Quad Camp. We went to Quad Camp in Houston, and we were driving, and we saw somebody flying a drone in a park, and we parked the car and we got out and we were like, hey, let's go say hi to this guy and see if he knows us, maybe make his day. And we went, he lifted up his goggles and we're like, hey, he was like, oh, hey, what are you guys doing in town? And we're like, we're here for Quad Camp. And he was like, how did I not know? And we're like, we told the Houston FPV group that we were coming. And he's like, bro, there's like 5 different Houston FPV groups. Houston is huge. I was like, oh.
It used to be big back in the day. I mean, it still is big, but it used to really go down. There's going to be a lot of pilots in Houston at those times.
Yeah,
I remember just talking about first time we met, and like that same weekend was the first time that you and I met, and then I went out with you and Steele and A Noob, and had ice cream together, and like that's really a funny.
That was a great year. The year I was traveling around doing Quad Camp. That was a really fun year. We wasted so much money, on Airbnbs and margaritas. and at the whole time I was like, I guess this is all fine because nobody's complaining about we're going out to eat and we're stocking the fridge and nobody's complaining. We're having a good time. And then like later people were like, oh yeah, no, we lost so much money on that. We have to stop doing that. I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
But you see, you then means you like partying. So you drink margarita and like to communicate with. So that's what IO is about, Huh?
Yeah.
Well, partially. So yeah. All right. Yeah. So we got a few spicy questions left. Let me read it through before
let's
we
run through them.
because we got not so spicy, all those still interesting questions. So we talked about sponsorship a little bit, but have you ever been offered a sponsorship that you refused due to like ethical reasons?
I feel like not because I'm a great pilot, but because I have a big platform. Most vendors, if I said, hey, I want you to sponsor me, would be happy to send me gear in exchange for me making content about it. I'm not really interested in that for two reasons. Number one is the sort of ethical implications of having a sponsorship. Although I do have some products with my name on them, and I sort of, handle that ethical stuff. But number two is that they expect things from you, and I really don't like that. I don't enjoy that. My goal is for people to send me product and then go away and never talk to me again until I publish the video. Unfortunately, sometimes they are like, hey, when are you going to publish that video? But if I was like a sponsored pilot, there would be this ongoing relationship that I would have to manage, and it would be very, very annoying.
So, but like a company ever asks you, like, hey, like, can we sponsor you? And then you're like, no.
Well, they ask if they can send product for review. Nobody really asks to sponsor me.
All right.
They're like, hey, can you review our product? So it's not quite the same.
How's your sponsorship going? I think it's like you at least were sponsored with like some food company, or no?
Was it Keto Meals or something?
There was it was Keto Chow bought advertising on the news. So I don't do advertise. I thought, if we were to sell an ad spot on the news, that's probably like ethically okay because we're not really like reviewing products. It's a whole separate thing. We'll sell an ad spot on the news. So Keto Chow, the owner of Keto Chow, is an FPV pilot, actually. So he bought some ad spots for us.
So, but now it's gone. He's not buying more like ad spots.
He did not re-up his. I mean, there was no expectation that he would. He bought like 4 slots, and we did the slots. And
is it public information how much the slot cost?
No, that would be for between us.
All right, cool. All right. Well, what if Neil like wants to promote his like what's it called, the OnlyFans on Bardwell?
So like a typical like roundabout for people who are trying to sell sponsorships. What I have been told that people buying sponsorships would like to see is about $15 to $30 CPM. So what that means is you take your video, you take the number of views that it's going to get, and obviously the time window is going to change, but like most videos, they take off and then they plateau. So let's say your video is going to take off, and after about 2 weeks, it'll plateau around, say, 20,000. So you're going to take 20,000 views, you're going to divide by 1,000, and you're going to multiply by $15 to $30. And that is a roundabout place to sort of think about making an offer to a sponsor who wants to come to your channel. So, you can do that math if you want to guess.
All right. Well,
yourself.
I like that.
That's pretty interesting.
That's interesting.
I had a clothing company offer me a sponsorship, and I didn't know how to charge them. So they offered me a really weird thing where it was like, well, we'll give you a little, like way less money than you want, but you can choose like $200 worth of clothes from the store, $150 or whatever it was. And then you wear it in the ad. And I gave like one shirt to Yvonne, and we did like
I still have it.
But I must not have given them
like
back
the
that
product,
value because they never re-upped again.
No. Most like I can't believe that Raid Shadow Legends paid me $1,000 for a live stream. Like I'm happy to take their money. They clearly know what the hell they're doing. But like I published that at the time. That's not new information. I said at the beginning of the live stream, Raid Shadow Legends paid me $1,000 to do this live stream. So I'm going to do a Raid Shadow Legends live stream and take my money. They like, I don't have gaming content. That video cannot have made them very many sales. But it was
It's funny.
like it's not like I'm taking money from some little company who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
They clearly know what they're doing, and if they think it's worth it to pay me, more fucking power to them.
So FPV, like many other communities, it has a lot of drama. So can you share like a example where you found yourself in the middle of the drama?
Well, I've had a lot of drama in the past between me and Trappy.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly there, and I mean that's all public, a lot of it. Just difference. I think we have a type of personality that clashes. I think he had some criticisms of my content. Some of them were valid, and I had some criticisms of how he expected to sort of manage the relationship between me and him, in terms of me being a content creator and him being a manufacturer, and the amount of sort of editorial control he seemed to think he deserved over my content.
Mhm.
And he has said, and I agree, that he thinks we just got off on a bad foot. And the very first time he reached out
Oh,
to
yeah,
me,
he said it during our live stream, yeah.
yeah,
him.
I think I agree with him about that. That I had done a test of some antennas, and he thought that the way I did the test was basically invalidated the results. He might have been right about that. But he came out the gate and was like, I don't remember, but he basically was like, wanted me to change the video or take it down. I don't remember exactly, but my reaction was, who the hell do you think you are, telling me what I can put on my channel? And if he had come to me with a more, like, I've had people come to me with a more sort of positive attitude and be like, hey, I think you got this wrong, and if
Yeah.
if I don't feel like they're pressuring me or expecting something that I think they don't really deserve or shouldn't be asking for, I can be like, oh, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out. And I can straighten it out. But he just came right out the gate. And so we immediately butted heads. And there were other times where I would make content. And like there was a time when I tested a unified video transmitter, and the result that I got was wrong. And I published the result and later had to retract it. So there's a lot of drama there.
Well, what besides Trappy, anything else?
There was I butted heads with the owner of Armattan. There was a video I put out, which was I troubleshot resonance issues on the Armattan frame, and the video I put out was titled Armattan Chameleon Mid Throttle Oscillation, something like that, troubleshoot. I don't remember the name of the video. It's probably still on my channel, privated. And he thought that was giving customers the message that the frame had a problem with mid-throttle oscillations, and not that it was a troubleshoot of my particular quad, which was having mid-throttle oscillations. And we got into a big fight about that. And again, it's a case where just our personalities, it wasn't so much the substance of the issue, but our personalities and the way that we communicated was just so incompatible that we both made each other crazy. We had a lot of public arguments about it on Facebook, which I'm not very proud of. And eventually he threatened to sue me for libel or slander or whatever. And I was like, okay, but you threatened me with a lawsuit, then that's the end. We're not talking anymore. And I just cut off all communication with him.
And the lawsuit never happened, I guess?
No, it didn't. No one's ever actually going to sue you, but you have to take the threat seriously.
Yeah.
And I was like also, I would get really angry and sort of lose my decorum and argue with him. And then I would go, why the fuck did I do that? I don't need to be doing that. And I would try to go back and be like, hey, look, I want to fix this. I want to make this right. And then immediately I would just get spun up again. And then, so after like 3 or 4 times of that happening, I was like, I really just cannot talk to this guy. We cannot be in the same room. For the record, he actually reached out to me years later and was like, hey, basically, like, I see now that I see that you were trying in your own way to do things right. And like, I'm sorry, basically said, I'm sorry that went the way it did, and it reached out. So, I told him, thank you. I appreciate that. and etc.
Mhm.
But I still like.
You think you can get in touch with Trappy again? Because he was saying something about like that. So during the live stream, like I think I sent you that piece of our live stream. So he said that at the end he told you like never ever review my products anymore, and this was the end of the story. But then he's like, yeah, maybe we can talk again.
I think that's what he said. I don't remember whether I think he said that earlier. That was what he said. If I remember right, and this was years ago.
Yeah.
It was in the antenna review. He was like, please don't review my products ever again. And I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? I will review any product I want to review.
Whoa.
I will
He was
buy the
like-
product and I will review it.
Well,
Keep my friend's name out your mouth.
Yeah, well, that's your right to do, right? You can review anything,
Right.
but
Right.
then Trappy was like a little bit. He was saying that he's maybe sort of ready to communicate with you again. Would you be down for that? Or you would be
Well-
like, I don't know. What if like it's not a good product, and then I say something bad about it again, and then it starts all over again.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I mean, I'm not opposed to that. Like there are people in my life who who I have decided like I just can't talk to this person. We can't interact. Trappy's not on that list for me. We've
Cool.
butted heads in the past. I think fundamentally I think he is, his heart's in the right place and his motivations are. I agree with. Like I see a lot of similarities between us in our values and our priorities. And I think that's part of the reason why we butt heads is that there are ways in which we both, yeah. So he's not on the
Cool.
never again
Yeah.
list, but like it would be. I think it would be difficult just because of our history, because we both know that we've butted heads in the past and had problems, and I think he expects a certain. I think he expects a certain level of, what's the right word? A certain level of, well, I have to really be careful because I'm going to just start more drama and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
He expects a certain level of deference, let's say.
Mhm.
Like they are TBS, they make these amazing products, and like they in the past, they haven't just sent products out to everybody for review and let us know. They have their inner circle of testers, right?
Yep.
And when they have products for review, they don't send it out to everybody. They send it to their guys because it's a privilege to get their product. It's a privilege to be one of the first ones to review a hot new TBS product. And they're not just going to give that to anybody. And it's like, okay, I get that. Like, that's not DJI does that. They don't just send DJI to everybody. They send it to people who are in their sort of stable.
Yeah.
And I haven't been in that stable. And there are things that you have to do to stay in that stable, right? And I feel like it's better for me as a reviewer to not be in that sort of inner circle, because I feel like the things you have to do to be in that circle are not compatible with the way I want to run my channel. But then if Trappy says, well, hey, we could reach out, we could talk again, that would be cool, but we would have to be peers and not like, okay, we'll talk. You're welcome to get in to be one of our inner circle and to play by our rules. You're like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
All right. Well, non-subject in the chat says, so nice to hear him and respect Joshua Bardwell. And yeah, and also someone says, yeah, man, peace and love. Oh, that was also a non-subject. A non-subject is full of love. All right.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah,
Good
good
guy.
guy. So I wanted to ask, that's not in the list of our questions, but I wanted to ask just quickly, what are you going to do about remote ID? Because I've heard you didn't get an approval for a year, and like, what the hell are you going to do? Because
it would be stupid to put a target on your back by saying that you weren't going to comply with a rule,
yeah,
right? So like if you're if you're growing cannabis in a state that doesn't allow you to grow cannabis, it would be stupid for you to go on a live stream and say, yeah, I'm growing cannabis. What's the
Yeah.
government going to do about it?
Right.
So my official answer is that I will comply with the rule.
cool. Yeah,
Copy.
Unfortunately, it's almost impossible to comply with the rule,
It is.
especially if you're a 107 person. There's no way under the current writing of the rule to do commercial work with a bind and fly quad built after September 1st, 2016, because any bind and fly quad is supposed to have standard remote ID on it. You cannot do 107 work with a module. But so if iFlight sends me a bind and fly, it doesn't have standard remote ID on it. If it was manufactured after September 1st, 2023, it cannot be flown with a module for 107 purposes, only recreational purposes.
Can they like take the camera off and ship it separately, and then it's like not bind and fly anymore? Like,
some people have questioned whether that would be a strategy that would work, but I haven't seen any bind and fly manufacturers taking that strategy. So after September 1st, 2023, it is impossible for me to legally do 107 work with any drone that doesn't have standard remote ID.
So and the standard implies for that, like it should transmit your position and your drone position. That's the standard one, right?
Standard, yes, that's true. Standard, but most importantly, standard means that it is built in from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
It cannot be retrofitted with a module. So if you have a drone that was made before September 1st, 2023, and you want to do want to do 107 work with it, you can put a module on it. But as any drone made after September 1st, 2023 must have standard remote ID to do 107 work. This is not just going to affect me. Think about all the pilots flying Cinelifters. Those are all those don't have standard remote ID.
Right.
Well, they can, like, for Cinelifter, it's not a big deal, because, like, well, I have this remote ID module. I'm not sure if it's, like, where's my scene?
No,
like,
but
legally, but it's quite big, but, like, Cinelifter, no problem, you know.
But it's not about the size, though. Legally, if your drone was made after September 1st, 2023, it cannot use a module for 107 work. It has to have standard.
Well, if it's bind and fly, but if it's like motors off and you put them on by yourself, it's not bind and fly anymore. I don't know.
No. You're missing the point. After September 1st, 2023, you cannot do 107 work except with a drone that has standard remote ID.
Oh, really?
Period.
So you cannot use drone that you build by yourself unless you build in standard remote ID also.
But you can't do that because the requirements to have standard remote ID, the record keeping requirements and so forth, some people may do that, but it's not just like, okay, I have standard remote ID.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
But that's why there are rumors of that there might be pushing the date further away.
Well, they can push the enforcement date back. But I don't think. I mean, it's gonna.
At some point, the technology gonna evolve, and then we're gonna have like a 1x1 millimeter remote ID units. All
so
right.
my that's a real problem.
Yeah.
And my official answer is that I'm complying with the rules. But after September 1st, if you see me review an iFlight drone, that's definitely 107 work because I am a business and everything I make for my content is 107 work. And it doesn't have standard remote ID in it. Therefore, it cannot be fully compliant with the rules. And there is no way. I would simply have to stop reviewing bind and fly drones over 250 gram limit doesn't matter for 107 work.
It does not.
I could only do work with drones that have standard remote ID built in.
I didn't know that. Like that, I thought if it's just
preposterous.
Damn.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I thought
it's also crazy because there's like, can you tell us about the products available to use? Right? I mean, like what? Like there are not drones out there to buy that have this built into it right now.
Well, unless it's
there
DJI.
are DJI Avata.
Yeah.
So there are no FPV hobby drones that have standard remote ID built in because you would have to build it into the flight controller. And Betaflight could implement remote ID, but it would have to then be it's not just the technology, but the administrative process of having the FAA accept and approve and provide a declaration of compliance for your system. And an open source flight controller with open source code, there's a real question of whether they would ever do that since it's not tamper resistant.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a little bit of discussion between Betaflight developers and the ArduPilot developers. Because ArduPilot developer wanted to do some remote ID, and we were like, we don't even understand. Like, we can build in that thing, but then everyone can recompile and just remove that stuff from like
I mean, I wish you would. I mean, who knows? The FAA might give you a declaration of compliance, in which case more power to you.
Well, like the thing is, like, you know, most of the developers of Betaflight that know how to do that, they live in Australia, and they don't give a crap about that. Well, yet, but like it's probably coming to them. Like, but so We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
So the next question sort of like lies in the like. I've heard in your live stream that there are like some Chinese companies saying that they have to comply with a ban of sending parts outside of China. So I didn't get it. Is it China government doing that, or is like U.S. government doing that? Like,
No,
what is
it's
happening? And
so the Chinese government has announced that there will be new export controls on. They are specifically targeting drones that are intended for military use,
Mhm.
which is easy. Just say, "Oh, not for military use," and then, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so it's not intended for military use." And drones that have certain technologies that are adaptable for military use. So
Mhm.
obviously, like if you had a drone with, I'm just making this up, but like if you had a drone with a night vision camera or a drone with a laser rangefinder, those are the kind of things you could imagine they might be thinking about. But the problem is that they specifically said there's a paragraph where they talk about high performance recreational drones being adapted to military use.
Mhm.
And it seems pretty clear that they're thinking about FPV drones. A lot of the footage that has come out into the world recently of FPV drones being
Mhm.
weaponized. And the concern is that they are going to target drones that recreational drones that might be adapted to military use, but that don't explicitly have any military purpose.
So and so you're mentioning like there is a document like where we can even see this document. I tried to research, I couldn't find anything.
Yeah. So we linked it on the news,
Oh,
not last
all
week,
right.
but the week before.
All right,
It's a
I'll check it out.
Chinese, it's, the Chinese Department of Economic whatever
Mhm.
made a statement about it. And we've gotten some statements from some vendors who say they don't think they're going to be affected.
Yeah.
And some statements like Speedy Bee sent out an email blast where they basically said, we're not going to sell these drones anymore.
Mm.
You can't export them. So I think we're currently in a transitional period where the rule has gone into effect, but it remains to be seen exactly how the government is going to enforce it.
Yeah.
Like there will probably be some companies who fly under the radar, some companies who take a risk and get away with it, other companies who get slapped down. No one really knows, and different companies are deciding how they're going to deal with it. But we at least have seen a few drone models where you won't be able to import them or export them anymore.
Well, what a crazy world. Well, that drone,
Indeed.
that's probably also they need to integrate remote ID in it too. So that's like
They're never going to do that, though, are they?
yeah.
There is absolutely no reason for a Chinese company making a bind-and-fly
Yeah.
drone to put an American remote ID. Never mind that it would be a giant hassle for them to do that. Like standard remote ID must be integrated into the flight controller.
Yeah.
So how are they even going to do that?
Well, or
Oh,
ESC, or ESC. Like ESC is a closed source, like BL Heli 32. Maybe like
The
yeah.
ESC, there was a scheme that some people came up with to put some kind of cryptographic information or something in the ESC, so that could fulfill the tamper resistant requirement. But like with a standard remote ID, the aircraft has to refuse to take off if it doesn't have like GPS lock.
Yeah, and well, you can do it with GP or with ESC if like, you know, if instead of telemetry wire, you wire it with the remote ID unit, and then remote ID unit tells ESC if arming is allowed, or like that's kind of possible.
Oh, I
to
could see. Yeah, no,
you
I
want
could
to
see that. That's a
avoid
good
beta
point.
flight because, and then BL Heli 32, maybe they can do it, you know, or Keys. I don't know. Maybe Keys will do it.
So yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I just don't, unless it hurts their sales. And then once it starts hurting their sales, then they'll be like, oh, maybe we need to do something about this. But until it starts hurting their sales, there's no reason for a Chinese company to go through the administrative hassle. They have to serialize every drone. You have to serialize every drone. You have to keep
Wow.
records on the drone.
Yeah.
There are all these record keeping requirements that.
Have you thought
giant
about like finding a person from FAA? I'm not gonna lie, because I was trying to do that. Just find a person from FAA and just talk with him, like, you know, not for the live stream, but for recording, and just ask him for reasoning. You know, you probably cannot change anything, but like maybe he can even give us some answers. You know, that'd be interesting for community. Like I was trying to do that. I'm just not big enough YouTuber. I never get an answer, but maybe you will.
Well, the people who are doing that work, and they deserve a lot of credit for it, are the FPV Freedom Coalition and the Flight Test Community Association. Those guys, I have to say, Dave Messina at FPV Freedom Coalition is an absolute animal when it comes to just finding people, talking to them, attending meetings, participating in working groups. He is unbelievable. It is a real skill to know how to sort of navigate that bureaucracy, and boy, he has it. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna sell that story because he told it to me, and I'm not sure. Actually, I
Damn it!
don't want to
All
betray
right,
his
almost
confidence.
got Bardwell to say it.
But he was disinvited from some meetings because he was too annoying.
Huh, all right.
The
Well,
the unofficial reason he was disinvited was that he was too annoying in the meetings he
is
was
it
in. Because he kept saying, "This is bullshit. We should do this differently," and they got tired of hearing it.
Well, that's the thing. So you cannot, I mean, you can talk to him, but he will not provide you the answers you want to hear, right? So it has to be someone from FAA who is putting these rules up.
They've talked to people in the FAA. They have had a lot of communication with people in the FAA. That's what I'm saying.
But like the community didn't hear it, you know. It should be someone, you know.
I mean, I don't think, I think that's a little unfair because FPV Freedom Coalition puts out, I mean, if you go to their YouTube channel, which they should publicize it more. They've put this stuff out. They've talked about this stuff. It maybe doesn't get out as much as it could. The problem is that you could get communication from like one person in the FAA, but the actual decision makers, it's a very big organization, and even if you have one guy who's a fan of FPV and supports you and trying to work, there's a lot of very, very big moving parts. I think people overestimate the degree to which the FAA is the bad guy here. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, the drone footage that people are seeing that is making hobbyists freak out. Like DHS was showing footage like that to Congress years ago before anybody in the hobby space had any inkling that drones could be used in that way. And like, I don't know that for a fact, but like, I assume, because I've had people tell me that the real motivation for remote ID is Congress being told by DHS, this is going to be a real problem and you need to get on top of it. And I believe it. And everybody looks at just the FAA as the bad guy, but really in a lot of ways, I think it's DHS who is really pushing this. And people don't realize that. They're like, well, if we can just tell the guys at FAA how wholesome FP is and how useful it is, then they'll change their minds. And I'm like, you guys don't know what you're up against. But now that some of this footage is coming out of drones being used in these ways that hobbyists don't want to think about, maybe we can have a better understanding of what we're actually up against.
But like my question was like, do you think you can find the person to talk to that like just
no,
like,
I mean, who could if I could get the administrator of the FAA in an interview and I could talk to him, what would I say that would change? Because I'm going to say, listen, bro, FPV is important. Drones are important. You guys are being mean and you should do things differently. And he would say, good talk, son. And then he would go back and he would do what he was going to do because he's thinking, he's being told by Congress. Let's be clear. Congress passed a law. The FAA Reauthorization Act of, I think it was 2018, but I'm not sure that's the right year. That said, the FAA must pass remote ID. They must implement remote ID.
All right.
At that point, the FAA has no choice in the matter.
But they have a lot of choices. If like, how do they agree with FRIAs, right? They can. FAA could say, all right, if you're under 20 feet, you can fly without remote ID. You know, they could say all that, but they didn't. So it's also FAA. You know.
100. No, you're right.
Maybe you could find a person that can ask these type of questions, right? Why racers have to care about it, like, and then maybe he would answer you something.
Because they find in my personal opinion, they find the whole thing super fucking annoying, because they, again, in my opinion, they care most about regulating full-scale aviation, and this whole drone thing that Congress dumped on their plate is not a thing they understand. It's not a thing they want to do. It's like you're an expert at programming assembly language, and your boss comes to you and says, I need you to write a web page for us. And you're like, I don't fucking program HTML. I don't write web pages. I don't do CSS. And the boss is like, yeah, but we need you to get it done. I'm like, fine. And you just hate the whole thing and you wish it would go away, and you're bad at it. And that is where the FAA is at. Again, in my opinion, they are at least knowledgeable about full-scale aviation. Now they get drones jumped on their plate and they're like, I don't know, fine, we'll do this. And then they do a shitty job of it. And then we come and we annoy them by saying you're doing a shitty job. And they're like, why would they listen? Why would they?
I think we lost my camera. Let me try to recover
You
it.
did, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's really annoying and it's really frustrating, but I think that like sort of your little rant there sheds a lot of light to kind of how small we are.
Yep.
And we really are, and we think that we're a big group of people, or some people think, I don't know, but it's just we're a very small group of people, and we're up against like these scary videos, especially with everything going on now with Russia and Ukraine, and how much like we've seen this weaponization, like that's like really brought it even more to the forefront. And it's but like, hey, we just want to fly. I don't know.
I know.
It's tough.
I know.
It's really frustrating for me.
I want to reply to Unknown Subject's comment because I disagree with what you're saying. And I think there is a misconception that causes RC and FPV hobbyists to turn on themselves and make enemies of each other when we're not actually the real enemy. The comment is, you were and are part of the problem. Needing the attention through YouTube is what drew attention to our hobby. RC flying was a thing long before you all started posting and monetizing. The thought process there is that if we hadn't drawn attention to the hobby by posting videos on YouTube, and the other place this goes, although Unknown Subject's comment doesn't go there, is that if we hadn't been irresponsible doing things like diving buildings or flying irresponsible, then this wouldn't have happened. That is categorically wrong. That's categorically wrong. The footage that we're seeing right now of drones being used in certain ways, I'm trying to be careful with my wording here so we don't get demonetized, but I think you know what I'm talking about. The footage that has started coming, that the ability to use a drone in that way existed. The minute a drone was created, someone could have weaponized it. The minute that happened, this was an inevitability. If we hadn't had these glorious years from like 2015 to like 2020, maybe 2022, where FPV was this beautiful hobby that we were just having fun like hippies out in the woods, we still would have come to this point where someone who wants to kill another person would have said, hey, you know what? I can do that with a drone. This is really effective. And Congress and the DHS and the people who are actually driving this would have said, we need to do something about this. So no, it is not the hobbyists. It's not the guys doing the building dives. It is inherent to the nature of drones that they can be used in this way, that they are actually very effective at being used in this way. And therefore, it is the nature. It's like the first time somebody invented a firecracker, eventually someone was going to decide to make dynamite and bombs out of it. And so the idea that if we only had been nice and not done things with the firecrackers, we wouldn't have come to this other thing. Sorry, that's not how it ever was going to work.
Yeah. Well, we probably know all that. I'm not going to say anything new. What kind of makes me a little bit angry, and I don't understand it, is that like we understand that drones can be used for like killing people, right? But obviously if someone's going to do that, he's not going to comply with remote ID.
Remote ID is a farce. And remote ID is completely ineffective.
Yeah, so it's only the people that are, want to be lawful, want to be good guys, just fly their drones only, for fun. Only basically us will be affected. We're gonna be affected, not the bad guys. I feel like so.
No, 100%.
That makes me a little bit frustrating. That's my opinion. I don't know for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, the fact that remote ID is an ineffective, bad, it is overly restrictive, it's an imposition on freedom. All of those things are true. And also, that doesn't change the reason why the government is trying to do this thing and doing it badly. And those two things are separate and should be considered separately.
Yeah. All right, let's move a little bit to we got a few questions. Okay. If you get time, do you have time, Mr. Bardwell? Or
sure, yeah.
Yeah,
sure,
cool.
Yeah,
so we gotta ask.
It down, though.
Yeah, we gotta I gotta ask, who is Blunty and how did you find this weird looking guy?
Yeah, so he was on my Discord. He made some videos. He made some tutorials, and I was like, oh, clearly we are kindred spirits, because I could see that he was just spontaneously making these how-to videos, and I asked him to do the news with. I had just started doing the news. I think I did I can't remember if I did any episodes of the news by myself or we started doing it together.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah, I think he's been pretty cool. Like he's very knowledgeable. Like he knows a lot. Like also he does a lot of like homework, obviously. But yeah, he's a cool guy. So Blunty, if you're watching, like much respect. Blunty also was one of like he showed up once in my videos doing weird things that I asked him to do. So
That's right.
yeah. I need
so
at some point I need to bring Bardwell to do something silly for my video. Like need to figure out something special. Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't.
So next light question, like what do you think leads to your success in FPV? Well, we can call whatever you have now is a success. If that's a success, what do you think the biggest thing that leads to that? Like,
well,
luck or hard work, or I don't know.
There's no doubt that like the YouTube algorithm has a lot to do with luck. I was very, very lucky to have started making content at the time that I did, when there was sort of an opening as FPV was growing and people were getting into it.
Yeah.
And YouTube was growing. I was very, very lucky to have sort of caught a wave, and I wouldn't be where I am. There are content creators now who have much smaller subscriber base and who make videos that absolutely deserve all the success in the world, who will never achieve the number of subscribers I have because of just where the algorithm is and where the FPV sort of community is. So a lot of luck. I think that I am good at thinking about the ways to organize information and the ways in which people will misunderstand information and the problems that they'll run into, such that I can sort of make an effective tutorial that is reasonably good, maybe better than average at getting people to a desired outcome. And if that's something that makes me successful, maybe that's what it is.
Have you ever like that's one of the like next question, like because well obviously that skill of like organizing information is valuable in not just in FPV. Have you ever thought about making a channel not about FPV? Like,
I mean, yeah, but here's the thing: to actually be successful at a YouTube channel, it takes a ridiculous amount of work, and I was again lucky at the time that I was starting to grow my channel. I was working from home, and my company was going through a stage where we didn't have a lot of business, and I kind of expected to get laid off at any moment, and that went on for like 6 months, where I had almost no work. Like, I'm not going to say no work. My boss tried to give me things to keep me busy, but and I then we got this giant contract, and it was right as I was about to quit my job and go full time. And we got this giant contract, and my boss was like, "Yay!" And it turned out my bosses had actually like taken out loans and dipped into their savings to keep paying the employees. And I was like, "Well, I can't quit now." So I actually worked at that company for like another year. After that, I helped run out that contract, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm going to go full time." But my point is that I had like 6 months where I had nothing to do all day, and I could just make videos, and I was still drawing a paycheck. And like, to do that with a new channel on a new topic, there's no way like it would get anywhere. You'd have to really, really want that. And there's nothing else I really care about. Like, I care about FPV.
Yeah, well, that's powerful. We all appreciate what you're doing. So we got a question. Maybe you know what the question means, because I couldn't understand. So Mr. Bob at the beginning of the live stream, he asked, thoughts about to be cheap anti-UAV tech trickling down into hands of civilian airspace enforcements. What the heck?
Cheap anti-UAV tech?
It's like Neil, if you can read it, maybe I mispronounced it. At the very bottom of our document, like a last question.
I mean, that's thoughts on about to be cheap anti-UAV tech trickling down into the hands of civilian airspace enforcement. I don't know what that means either.
We're gonna skip that.
Anti-UAV tech, like jamming, maybe. I mean, there's
anti-UAV
tech.
I was thinking about them. All right. So I would think.
Yeah, anti-UAV tech is difficult. Like, you've got physical means of prevention, things like nets and other things that just prevent the UAV from flying into the area. but they're obtrusive. Anti-UAV tech like jamming is difficult to get into civilian hands because jamming is extremely restricted. The FCC really absolutely prohibits jamming. It might even be a crime. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
It is.
believe it
So-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are jammers, but it's very difficult to get permission to use a jammer. And it's just not something that it's certainly not your average civilian is going to. Obviously, you could build one. Like, it's not impossible to build one. If you know how to build a ham radio, you can build a jammer. But just off the shelf jamming technology, I don't think you're going to see. It's going to be the realm of law enforcement, and government, and so forth.
What, like, almost last question. So where do you
Yeah.
see FPV in the next 2-3 years? Like, are you scared of that, or you're excited about that? Like, what's your thoughts,
Well,
Mr. Bardwell?
There's reason to be excited because FPV is doing very, very interesting things. I'm so excited at the growth of FPV in cinema, for example.
Yeah.
Yep.
Things like the ambulance movie where Michael Bay and Alex Vanover, put FPV shots into a big screen movie. It are so exciting just because I love FPV and I like to see it grow. And I think that it has the ability to capture images in a way that nothing else does. And it's nice to see other people realize that. I would love to see FPV as a hobby and a sport become more accepted, although there are some hurdles to that. But there are a lot of things that sort of, I see people dropping out. Things like remote ID are causing, I mean, I don't know if it's a net positive or a net negative. People are coming in all the time too. But so it's hard to say where it's going to be in 2 or 3 years. It's very hard to say.
Yeah. Well, and what did you learn today, Mr. Bardwell?
What did I learn?
Yeah.
Oh man. You guys got a great live stream.
All right, thank you.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate all our. I think like today's live stream. Well, we have Mr. Bardwell himself, but there's like the most views we had. I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So far, most
yeah.
views so far.
So
yeah.
far.
Well, so
Yeah.
far, hopefully it's
Yeah.
gonna grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a few
yeah.
super chats
Great.
here
Thanks,
at
guys.
the end too.
Oh, really? Can you read them? I think I missed them.
Yeah. Focus does a winky face emoji for $10. So here's a winky back at you, Focus.
All right.
Shames
Appreciate
Heart of
that.
America asks, "Is Bardwell the sock puppet? And
Oh,
if
yeah.
not, who does he think that it is?" I don't know if you're familiar with sock puppet. but
No.
it's sort of like a.
I know what a sock puppet is.
Well, like.
So there's
Yeah.
Neil
Your
can probably
sock puppet.
explain what.
Yeah,
the
Neil.
FPV
Neil is
sock
very
puppet
excited to explain to everyone what
well,
a sock
yeah,
puppet.
I mean, so like there's a Facebook group that's like anonymous that posts like spicy FPV memes, and it's FPV sock puppet.
I've seen the memes, but no,
Okay, yeah,
I don't have near enough meme skill to be able to making those spicy memes.
yeah,
No.
That's what every suspect says, though. So.
right. That is what everybody says. Yeah,
It kind of
So-
reminds me of Gossip Girl. If you ever had to watch the show with your wife, you might have watched Gossip Girl.
I
Yeah.
picked Black Jungle. Black Jungle is a guy on my Discord server from Brazil,
Hmm.
and he makes memes during the live streams, and he is very quick and good at making memes because we'll be doing the news or whatever, and he'll just be banging out a meme for every story.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's him, but that's what I would pick if I had to
but
pick.
he could be. Well, we're all suspects.
Okay.
So there
Yeah.
you go.
What else?
Zays, for
yeah.
$5, Zays says, "JB, if you had to remove one common size of FPV drone from existence, what size would you eliminate?"
Hmm.
I
Mm,
know my answer.
What's your answer, Neil?
Well, I don't want to taint JB.
Yeah,
so-
all right. Let's see.
I'm gonna say 75 millimeter, only because I
Okay.
know it will. I know it will piss off so many people because
Yeah,
I've said
the
in the
eye
past. I've said in the past that like 65 millimeter is this pure tiny indoor experience, and 75 millimeter is kind of not that great indoors, but it's also not that great outdoors. And I've had a lot of pushback from people who really love 75. So I'm gonna say 75 just to piss them off.
Yep. All right. Well, Cowboys, they're struggling right now.
Yeah.
Because they just made a spec with that. So I like it.
They're doing.
So
And,
what
like,
else?
Yeah, and I'll say 3-inch would be mine. I would lose.
What's the
3
tiny
inch
trainer? Is it
because-
2.5 inch, right?
I
3
think
inch
it's
is
actually
tiny trainer.
3-inch. So
No,
that's
it's
kind of funny.
3
Yeah,
inch.
A
well,
tiny trainer 3-inch? Come on, Neil.
yeah.
What the heck?
Well,
I
because
would,
like
I would get rid of
3
Beast
inch too.
Class. I don't
Yeah.
like Beast Class.
Yeah,
There
well.
you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's the easy answer though.
There you
So
go.
Nobody will
Kalyan,
miss Beast Class.
yeah. Well, some people will. But so Kalyan asks, how are you guys liking your Flywhoo Explorer Long Range O3? So I lost mine, although I enjoyed it a lot, but I lost mine a couple of weeks ago in the mountains with Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
But
blame
I
Neil for
flew
that.
mine the entire time we were in California.
Yeah, Neil
So
enjoyed
it
it.
was awesome. I
Did-
sent it very far, although we can't really show what we. Anyways, it was great.
So do you fly your Flywhoo, Mr. Bardwell?
Flywhoo Explorer 03?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
well, like maybe you have the old one, but I think
don't-
you did
I
review
don't
like
have that in. I did review it. Your review
Yeah.
was very good. I watched your review
yeah.
before.
But
I watched your review before I
Damn,
reviewed to
all
see if
right.
there was anything I missed.
think I'm gonna
I was
ask
like, hey,
you.
as long as
Yeah.
he's releasing a review, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. But you did review a Flywhoo too, but I think it was with Vista back in the days before
I don't
03.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the 03. I'm pretty sure they sent me the 03. I don't currently own it, and I
Yeah.
don't remember where it went.
Very
So
good.
Focus says 75 millimeters Javatar rules. Thank you for $5 super chat. All right, guys. So it's like 2.5 hours. So we gotta close. I see Joshua Bardwell yawning.
Yeah.
How do you say it? Yeah, yawing.
Yawning.
He's yawing. Just
He's
too
yawning,
much.
yeah.
You
too
like
much
yaw.
yaw,
Respect
just
the
Joshua
yaw.
Bardwell. Yeah. So we really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Bardwell. That was very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
and thank you very much to our experts, Mr. Johnny Five and Mr. Neil. Yeah, that was awesome, and thank you very much for everyone who watched the live stream. Thank you very much for super chats, especially. Yeah, that was cool, and see you in the
Yeah.
next one. If we are
Yeah.
not lazy, yeah.
Thanks
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah,
Later.
later.
Shit pilots.